Dunc and Holder on a Thursday, November 9th. Larry Holder, Jeff Duncan, Clyde Verdun is in the house, even though he's dropping his phone and ruining lives.
It is a mess today.
Typical Clyde, on a Thursday. He's always fired up to come in and then breaks things and never gets things fixed. And that's the exact opposite of Clyde. Actually.
I'm a bad influence on Clyde. I think he's starting to act like me, getting here late, running around, trying to get things set. That's not good. Follow Larry. Larry's punctual, organized, and on time.
I'm literally standing here at 10 a.m. and I'm thinking, oh, well, I guess neither one of these two guys are going to show up. And then I throw it out there for you. There you go. So we won't bring up Hacksaw Jim Duggan or any of those things, even though Ric Flair's 30 for 30 was this week. And so look, we'll leave Angie be. And so if anybody curses, just make sure she's got the dump button. So there we go.
I will never live that story down.
Blame Corey. I'm telling you, you'll never. You're right. You will never live that story down. Exactly. But around 10:30, we will have Vic Carucci from the Buffalo News and Sirius XM NFL Radio. He will come on, of course, and also 10:45, we'll have Josh Katzenstein on, of course, NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune. And he did text me earlier today and said if Nickelback is played while he comes on, he will just hang up, quit, curse, do whatever. And I told him that Dave is out sick, so he's lucky.
He's got good fortune because I think it would have definitely been played.
It would play over his answers. It would just be... It would be like, hey, Josh, you want to talk about say, it's the time you remind me. It'll just play over it and he'll
I'd never come on the show ever again. I'm just saying. If that were the case, I'd never come on the show ever again.
Well, maybe we've got our out there.
Ooh. If we
I've already made promises to Josh that we would play some Jay-Z for him, specifically.
You can't make those promises.
So,
do you understand that? You cannot make those
seeing as how
promises.
we have a much lovelier counterpart to Dave today, thank goodness. I imagine that would be possible.
Come on, the guy's sick right now.
Hey, man, we're all sick. I mean, he's taking, the way I see it, he's taking, he's lying down on the day off. I mean, we come in sick. You got to be like Kobe, man. 82, MJ. Score, dropping, hitting the final shot.
Do you know how much money they make?
Utah.
Do you know how much money they make? Do you even know how little money we make?
Yes, I'm well aware.
I'm calling it sick.
I'm well aware.
I've got no problem with that. But also, of course, in the 11 o'clock hour, college pick'em segment. My picks are terrible. Let's see. I bungled the LSU pick last week.
Yeah, you did.
I bungled
Both you did.
the Tulane pick last week, and I probably bungled everything else. But look, the huge college football weekend, and look, I'm fired up for it. I know, Clyde, you're going to have all the games
Cannot wait.
ready to rock and roll, and it's going to be kind of blockbuster after blockbuster.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. I mean, to narrow it down to just 10, I mean, there's so many good games this week.
Usually, say in like week 4 or 5, you're like scratching and clawing for 10 games. This is going to be an overload, so we'll have that as well. But look, of course, our big topic all week's always going to be Saints, and so Saints-Bills, and look, had a chance to get in the locker room yesterday and talk with some of the players. And look, I'm going to bring this up, Jeff, just a real quick note. Your boy, Amos Morale, who are you going to be co-hosting with on Monday while I'm scurrying back from Buffalo?
And Jim Derry will both be here. This is going to be a party.
It's going to. I pray for Dave. He's going to have to herd you guys in. It's going to be chaos.
It will be.
Yes.
But what did Amos do?
So Amos talks to your buddy Sheldon Rankins. Of course, where did he go to school?
From Louisville.
And Amos the biggest suck-up on earth. Guess what he was wearing?
A Louisville
hoodie. And even Tyler Davison made fun of him. Like, what a suck-up. Total suck-up that
hilarious.
He wore that. And so, of course, Sheldon's like, hey, how you guys doing? Hey. Like, Amos's new best friend.
I love Tyler Davison. He's like, I love
Tyler. I love Sheldon. All those guys in the defensive line are look, they're getting it done, too. And I think the biggest thing that, of course, they're going to have to worry about this week is, well, twofold. LaShawn McCoy, of course, and then Tyrod Taylor, who, and you look at his stats, and I didn't bring it up yesterday, but I will bring it up with Vic Carucci today. Look, Tyrod Taylor has been sacked, I think it's 26 times so far this season, so he's been prone to being sacked. And look, the Saints are a top 10 team in the NFL. Now, how much do they put the ball in Tyrod Taylor's hands? I think that remains to be seen. But look, I do think that we've talked so much about mid-season report card, and I've got my 8 burning questions up on NOLA.com right now that will for the second half of the season, and one of them is the pass rush. And Jeff, you mentioned it yesterday how you're not sold totally right now that they can continue this pass rush in and of itself, but I do think that it's important. And I did part of my 1st and 10 column. I did it last night. I charted the blitz report, which I do each and every week, and the Saints are blitzing less the past couple of weeks than they were, say, against Cam Newton or against Jay Cutler or against I'm losing Matt Stafford.
Brett Hundley.
They blitzed Stafford more than 50% of the time, and they scaled it back. But they've been scaling it back each and every week. So I'm curious to see how they do in that aspect of the game.
Yeah, I would think that the strategy to win this weekend is going to be plain and simple. They've got to shut down LaShawn McCoy in the running game, which is what Buffalo likes to do, and force Tyrod Taylor to beat them through the air with that limited passing game. Now, with Kelvin Benjamin out there, he does give them another target. The Saints certainly are familiar with Benjamin, but they're limited in the passing attack. They want to run the ball, control the clock, use their defense. And I'll tell you a guy that's underrated on that Bills defense that doesn't get a lot of play across the league is Jerry Hughes, outside pass rusher, a guy that back in the day I actually thought the Saints could have used in the draft. I think where'd he come out of, TCU or somewhere like that?
That sounds right, yeah.
Yeah, and he kind of didn't have a great career in Indianapolis. Buffalo signs him, and he's had double-digit sacks, it seems like, almost every year up there. And that's a guy they're going to have to account for, especially if Terron Armstead is not playing. We have any idea what the update is on those guys? It sounded like Armstead and Vaccaro both did not practice yesterday.
Right, and Armstead was in the locker room yesterday, but
that's a good sign.
It is a good sign, but he didn't say much. He was asked how he is, and he's like, we'll see, this, that, and the other. But the injury report, look, it's something we're going to have to monitor because of all the injuries they've had on the offensive line. But you've at least gotten some good news on the offensive line front. Larry Warford was limited in practice yesterday, so if you're limited Wednesday, maybe they ease him back and get him in the lineup. He might be full practice on Friday. I'm jumping to conclusions here, but that could be the case. But Terron Armstead did not practice yesterday. Kenny Vaccaro also did not practice yesterday. Alex Okafor was limited in yesterday's practice. I anticipate he plays. And Michael Thomas was also listed as limited in practice yesterday. I anticipate he plays too. But yeah, I would say, the offensive line, and you're talking about, say, protecting Breeze and Jerry Hughes. I think that's going to be a big thing because Sean McDermott certainly knows the Saints. Mm-hmm. He certainly knows Drew Brees. He knows Sean Payton's tendencies. I think that's going to be an interesting chess match when we get to Sunday up in Buffalo.
Like I told you yesterday, we were talking about the weather elements and how they could affect the game. The fact that Buffalo is leading the league right now in takeaways, one of the tops in takeaway margin, turnover margin, I expect Sean Payton to call this game very conservatively because of the weather, because of the fact that he knows turnovers are such a big part of Buffalo's game plan. If they just manage the ball, don't turn it over, and manage field position with a great punter like Thomas Morstead and the improved running game, I think we're talking about a lot of field goals, things like that. It's going to be a low-scoring game. I'll be shocked if it's above the 20s or the low 20s.
Buffalo leads the NFL in turnover margin. They are plus 11. They've had 17 takeaways and only 6 giveaways. And the 17 takeaways is second in the NFL only to Baltimore, who has 18. And the Saints right now, you look at it, they are plus 3. They've given the ball away 9 times but have 12 takeaways. So, yeah, I think ball control is going to be certainly key. And I was talking to our own Tim Williamson and Mark Lorando yesterday after the show, and they were bringing up and kind of reliving that 2009 game where it was the Saints. They won 27-7, and it was the same kind of ball control game. And that's when, look, Drew Brees was starting to get in his real prime, and yet they still kind of played a similar style. And I would agree. I think they're gonna go that same style, especially when you've got Mark Ingram playing so well and Alvin Kamara playing so well.
Yeah, you got. In other words, if there's a 4th and 2 about midfield, Peyton's going to punt probably. Whereas in the Superdome against another opponent, he might go for it. Those are the kind of decisions I think he'll be more conservative on. He might take the field goal instead of trying to go for it in the red zone on a 4th down that he might go for in the dome. He's going to manage this game differently, and he's changed over the years in that regard. I think he's realized that's an area he needed to improve on, and I think he has more confidence now with this defense and the running game that he can do that.
And he probably has a lot of confidence in Thomas Morstead, considering he can kick a ball, it hits at the 1, and he's got this backspin. It's like he's hitting a pitching wedge, and he's got to pull the backspin on it. And but still, it's outdoors. Look, the Saints practiced outdoors yesterday, and they don't typically do that, but they wanted at least in New Orleans terms, it was freezing and blustery yesterday. It was 60 degrees and
good
windy.
luck. That's one thing they can't really do much about.
No, they can't go put them in an ice box. But yeah, it's something that the Saints look when they play. They try to practice outdoors when they play outdoor teams. So they're gonna at least try to replicate some of that. So why don't we take a break here on the show, and when we get back, let's focus on the Pelicans because they get back on the court tonight. Of course, they're 6-5, and they take on the Toronto Raptors. Of course, you can listen to that game on our sister station, 99.5 WRNO. And again, Vic Carucci from the Buffalo News and Sirius XM NFL Radio at 10:30. Josh Katzenstein at 10:45. We'll turn it over to more of a college 11 o'clock hour. We got LSU Arkansas, of course. That's the game we're going to sort of pay attention to. It's almost like you want to get that one out the way and get to the 2:30 games. Sorry, LSU. I mean, that's just kind of what's happening. And
sorry, Arkansas. It's Arkansas's fault because they're terrible.
This is a fact. Clyde's actually speaking facts.
Clyde weighed in.
That's what I do.
There you go. Just a dagger. Just throwing daggers. Look at it. He's throwing daggers.
Like you're surprised I don't do this all the time. I do this all the time.
Cocky Clyde.
Exactly. Well, when it's college pick'em Thursday, he has a reason to be cocky because he's good and we stink.
That's true.
So we
true.
will relive the bloodletting I'm sure I took last week, and Jeff probably took. I just assume he took it. So
thanks.
There you go. Sports 1280 NOLA.com and the iHeartRadio app. We're Dunc and Holder. Thank you.
A lot of.
By the way, Amos says it was a comfortable hoodie.
He's BS, man. That was Suck Up McGee.
Ramon Humber's the starting weak side linebacker.
He was like
in Buffalo.
At one point in the season, he was like one of the leading tacklers in the league.
We would never talk about Cal Williams. That guy's been good for years.
Yeah,
LSU guy.
Yeah.
All right, hey guys, I heard requests for Jay-Z and Nickelback.
Oh no!
Don't do this. Don't do
Whichever
this.
one you want to do.
Do not do this. Please don't do this. I'm asking.
Who
though? Who hates Nickelback?
Josh
Katzenstein. So.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Wow, y'all gonna get him so angry. I can't wait.
I like angry Josh, and he goes and pouts.
Josh
and
not angry.
He is. We're not staying at a full-service Marriott. I'm angry.
Oh my gosh! You should have seen him and Amos pouting when we had that Airbnb in London because we weren't immediately surrounded by nubile 20-year-old women everywhere.
It about
on a
20-year-old
nationwide level,
win.
the big
What is
picture
this
in the Labor
from?
Department's newest job opening.
So,
That's hilarious. That's going to end up being the meme of all time for you, man.
Here's Larry.
No, I got the email. Oh, here's Larry. I got
However,
it
the
first.
report does
Yeah.
not address possible
Oh,
local
it's from,
shortages and the California.
I know, I saw it.
That
Yeah, this
story,
page.
thousands
Sent
of
it.
homes
Yeah.
happened in
Yeah.
October.
You definitely look like
Created a lot more
God,
openings.
you see
We
this
just won't
pic?
know
Come
until
see.
the data comes
that's
out next
that's
month.
meme worthy.
Contractors
Yeah.
have long complained they can't find enough
Gift-
qualified
gift
workers to
worthy.
fill the existing openings. It can take
Yes,
a while
I'm
to
the
get a
one who
new
tweeted the
iPhone
deal
10
with,
because of
Mark Carey
supply chain
yesterday.
Oh, okay.
problems.
Yeah.
But as Mark Mayfield
When I saw you,
Well, no, did you
We've
see what
found
someone
out at least
decided
some
to
of
go
those.
pull
The
meme
Company says
here?
it's ready to
No.
meet the off-the-chart demand for the new iPhone 10 on November 23rd and 24th. Apple will launch its new iPhone in 14
That's
countries,
wonderful.
starting in Israel.
That's great.
That Apple is going to
Here's
suffer
Larry.
serious
That's
supply
so
issues
great.
are apparently not an issue.
Oh, man, that's
New orders
awesome.
placed in the U.S. won't ship.
Oh,
until
man,
for
that's great.
several weeks.
Oh, wow.
Production gives it plenty of phones to ship to new markets. Mark Mayfield, NBC News Radio.
Mortgage rates are down slightly, but not enough to spark the mortgage market.
The
Mortgage
Rockets
Bankers
play the
Association's
Cavs
average
tonight.
for a 30-year fixed.
Rockets might beat them.
That might be
That might not be
100.
That might not be good for Cleveland.
Applications were
I
essentially
mean,
flat.
the Cleveland's like
Time
I
for
think the
holiday
worst or
planning,
second worst
but
defensive team in the
budget-stretching
league.
employers
Yep.
take
Now they're
heart.
playing the
Staffing
Rockets.
agency Accountemp says company parties don't have to.
Who
be
also don't know how to play defense, but
end up
also can
becoming
score
the most
really
popular.
easily.
Right.
Fun is more
That's part of their
about the
strategy.
spirit and the camaraderie and sort of the.
Let's see what the line is on the Pels game. I have no idea.
Is spent.
Accountemps executive director Mike Steinitz advises employees
Pels
to
are
show up for the
5-point
party, even
underdogs.
if you don't want to, because it shows how you interact outside the cubicle.
Sounds
Just
about
not
right.
booze
That's
and
fair.
Sounds about
stay away
right.
from the lampshades. Accountemps top 5
NBA
cities for
lines. Who
company
would bet on
parties are New
NBA
York,
games?
Miami,
Oh,
Shoot,
Los
man,
Angeles,
but there's so many
San Francisco,
games. I
Washington,
mean,
Are you kidding me?
The worst company parties are in
You gotta be
Minneapolis,
degenerate
Des
to
Moines,
bet on
Philadelphia,
NBA.
Indianapolis,
that's also fair.
and Cleveland.
Also fair.
I told you.
I would rather
Show
but I'd rather do that than
NBC News
baseball.
When I worked in Monroe, Louisiana, our sports editor,
Habitat for Humanity.
Greg Hilburn and Bill
Houses
Campbell, who came down and worked
so
down
much
here,
more.
they bet on every
Habitat
Major League
for
Baseball
Humanity
game in
where
1
we
year.
enjoy
What? Like just $5 and $10 a night?
Nope.
Every
Turning
game.
the screw,
Nope. An
turning
entire
the
season. It was insane.
and where a simple key can unlock.
Well,
Those guys
that's
are-
where you go look at pitching matchups. So you
see?
got to like
Habitat for Humanity.
I don't have the
fifth
energy.
starter versus fifth starter. Like who do you bet?
Yeah, I wouldn't have the energy,
Visit
mental
habitat.org to
energy.
learn more.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Angie's got us dancing over here. Literally, Jeff.
All of us.
And I,
stuff.
besides Clyde, we're dancing. It's. Here's the thing. I know the song, unfortunately, because I have
why do you know this?
children.
Yep. What movie was it off of?
Trolls.
There you go.
Come on, Trolls. Jeff, I'm sure got that on a loop.
Idea what you're all talking about.
See, and that's
Zero.
exactly why I was telling you to say it, because I'm sure that there are a lot of people out here who have no idea what
I
you're talking
do know
about.
what
What is
trolls
troll?
are. Trust me, I know what trolls are.
You're sitting 2 feet away from one.
Oh, what is this?
Cocky Clyde.
Who is this?
Clyde comes here and just napalms the set.
We're gonna cut Cocky Clyde out of this segment.
From
Actually,
way downtown. Bang.
jeez, this is why I do love Thursday and Friday shows. We get Cocky Clyde in here, and all of a sudden, we have a lot more fun. But look, Pelicans tonight taking on the Washington. Don't call them the Bullets.
Toronto.
Exactly. Don't call them that either. Toronto Raptors.
Yeah.
Don't call them the wrong team.
Let's just not talk about bullets as a whole, all right? Let's just not do that.
Let's not do it as a whole. But no, you were saying, Jeff, that of course the Raptors are favored tonight. Look, they're the first or second or third team that they're taking on here on as far as on the road, an actual good team. Look, they're 5-2 on the road, and even Alvin Gentry said it after the win in Indiana. Said, well, look, our home record, because we played Golden State and Orlando, and I'm not going to mention Cleveland, because every time I mention Cleveland, you bag on it because you think they stink still. But
Stink?
All right, they're not very good right now. But look, this is going to be a test, and it's a game you've been kind of wanting to see, because it's a barometer game, and we've seen them beat the teams they're supposed to beat, and we've seen them basically lose to the teams that you figured they lose to, minus Orlando, but Orlando's playing good basketball, so you look at that loss, and it's not bad in the kind of grand scope of the season so far.
Yeah, and Toronto's 3-1 at home this year. They haven't played a lot of home games, so this will be one of those marquee games, I think, for them. Anytime you got Davis and Cousins coming in, superstars like that, they're going to have a good crowd, and they're always a tough matchup for the Pelicans, and I think in particular this year, the fact that they got Ibaka now, they have an inside presence that he's probably going to man up with Cousins, and then they have a matchup problem for the Pelicans with DeMar DeRozan, who's that wing player who they just don't really have a guy. I don't know who will draw that assignment on him, but they really don't have a good matchup.
Kyle Lowry?
Yeah, and Lowry's also the same way. So I think this is a tough matchup. It'll be interesting to see who for Toronto checks Anthony Davis, because they really don't have anybody who can check him either. Not that anybody in the league really does, but it'll be a fun game to watch. This team has got a winning record, something that the Pelicans really haven't done yet, beating a team with a winning record, even though I know Cleveland had a winning record at the time.
They did.
Yes, and then they lost 4 of their next 5.
It's sort of like taking it easy.
It's sort of like LSU. LSU still counts that they've won 2 games this year against ranked teams, or one. I can't remember what the stat is, but they count Florida because when they played Florida, they were ranked.
When you play,
Florida's a ranked. Yeah, they're really a ranked opponent. Well, that's a top 25.
But who do you blame for that? Do you blame I blame
having polls too soon.
People who do polls for having them that high, even though they had some questions about them, especially at the start of the year?
I think it's accurate to cite what teams are ranked that you've beaten at the current time, not when you played them, because Florida State technically was ranked when Alabama played them, and Florida State has a losing record right now. I mean, they're not a very good team.
This smells like a crotchety old Jeff rant.
It does.
Just pivoted to AP polls, even though we're talking about
basketball.
Kyle Lowry and the Pelicans. I mean,
sorry, I did get a little derailed. Do we want to talk about left lane slow drivers again?
No, let's not do that.
Sweet baby Jesus, no. Anywho, look, the Pelicans. They're taking on the Raptors 6-4, Pelicans 6-5, and the Raptors are 3-1 at home. And yeah, I do think that this is a game where, man, if you could get this win, imagine coming home and you're 4-0 on the road, and again,
they beat on the road than you do at home.
Well, that's true.
But this is a good win if they win tonight.
Yeah, this would be a good win. And look, it's not a back-to-back, so look, I think they've got time to kind of get their legs on them because who was it? We had a caller yesterday or 2 days ago, I forget, but how they're talking about how many minutes Cousins and Anthony Davis are playing so early in the season and that they fear it's going to catch up to them at some point. And look, they're probably, 10%, 12% through their games right now. And they've played, Boogie for sure has played a ton of minutes. And, of course, Anthony Davis, he played 41 minutes in the last game in Indiana.
Yeah, right now, I looked last night at the stats. Davis, I think, is 3rd in the league in PER. That's player efficiency rating, the Hollander stat, which I really like that stat. And Cousins, I think, is 9th, which surprised me because I don't think of him being that efficient, I've said. But he does accumulate an incredible amount of stats. So they have 2 of the top 10 players in the league in player efficiency ratings. And the average PER, if you know what the PER rating is, the average for an NBA player is a 15 rating. Cousins is up in the high 20s. Anthony Davis is 31. Crazy number right now. It's still early. But my point is there's no other player on the roster that has above a 15. They're all below. So in other words, everyone else is a below average NBA player according to this statistic. And that's kind of right now because Drew Holiday is not playing well.
You just took the name right out of my mouth. I'm glad you're on board with the train.
He's very low in the among the worst players in the league right now. So,
anywho, here's your handsome reward, your paycheck, $25 million a year. Here you go. Get 10 points and 2 assists and just kind of chill while the others kind of carry you. And
Y'all are savage, man. But at the same time, though, you choose him as that hill to die on, but the Pels are winning. I mean, they're not winning pretty, but at least they're still winning. I mean,
that's what I'm on. So, I'm on the train.
They're still winning, which is a good thing.
The fact that they're 6-5. Look, I did not have Pelicans' interest. If they would stink, if they were 2-8 right now, I would not be talking about them.
Right.
We wouldn't be talking about them on this show. We would just be bagging on them and just be like, oh well, they're an afterthought. Guess what? The Saints are 6-2. Let's talk about them. But the fact that they are at least they're competitive, and B, they have a winning record right now. that's good for them as far as getting people on board with this team. Because,
Earlier,
yes, absolutely.
They're competitive. They're winning games on the road, which is huge. Obviously, you hope that they turn that into more home wins, because that's the next thing I was going to go into. So you're going to play Toronto, which for me, Toronto is really about to be that team that is so good for so long, but just didn't have that one transcendental player, a la maybe a Utah Jazz, or running up against that one player during their best run, because Toronto has been such a good team for such a long time. Great drafts, great trades, and they've been so good, but they can't get over Cleveland. They couldn't get over the hump out of the East. If they're able to pull this game out, you're coming home to play the Clippers on Saturday. You've got Atlanta on Monday, and then you've got Toronto coming back here next Wednesday. So you're going to get real familiar with that team, because you're going to play them again over the span of a week. Hopefully, if anything, that turns into maybe, like, you got 3 consecutive home games. They can at least start winning some of these home games that they're supposed to win too.
Absolutely. Why don't we take a break right here on the show? We'll pivot to Saints Bills. We'll talk with Vic Carucci from the Buffalo News and Sirius XM NFL Radio coming up here. And after that, next segment, we'll have Josh Katzenstein on, of course, talking Saints. Sean Payton saying that Delvin Breaux will remain on injured reserve, which to me points that his season could easily be over. And the Saints are kind of I wouldn't know, honestly, at this rate, where he would play anyway, because they've kind of figured out what they like to do. But look, that's obviously disappointing news, because we figured Delvin Breaux could have been their best corner, possibly their number one guy going into the season. But this is before we knew what Marshawn Lattimore and everybody.
Very precarious there, though.
Absolutely.
You know, one injury there, it's a house of cards.
Absolutely. So, we'll talk with Vic Carucci coming up here next. Sports 1280 NOLA.com and the iHeartRadio app. We're Dunc and Holder.
And Rice Krispies.
Wait, what?
Can you get me
Are you serious? Yes.
Can you get me a delicious cup of ice?
From the Fox 8
Since I've got
Weather
my
Center, meteorologist Bruce Katz, finally the
Unbelievable. Children.
Only in the mid-60s
Hence,
today.
yes.
We're going to see sunshine by late afternoon. Now tonight,
Cocky
it's going
Clyde.
to be chilly. Overnight low, 45.
Cocky Clyde Thursdays.
I like that. Cocky
Clyde. Friday, a beautiful day to wrap up the work week. Mostly sunny with a high of 69. And again, overnight lows back to the upper 40s north and lower 50s south. From the Fox 8
Jeff's
Weather
going to have
Center, I'm
a
meteorologist
problem on
Bruce
his hands
Katz
on
with
Monday.
your
Who's he going to ship off to Siberia over there?
Yeah, seriously. That's a. I mean, if worse comes to worse, we could move this mic over there, and then you could like have 2 there and then 1 to the side, and we can angle it differently. But
I think Facebook would rather see Amos.
Hey, YouTubers, let us know. Who would you rather see on Monday? Because that's going to decide.
Seriously, I'm telling you.
Who's going to be in the
Take a poll.
Seriously,
poll.
The Alphabet is testing out their vehicles.
Jeff would probably rather Amos, because I could see Jeff and Derry like choking each other.
Oh
out.
yeah, absolutely.
The fans have a graphical interface in the back
I think it'd be
seat,
safe
which lets
that
buyers watch the
if
driver's
Derry got
course
shipped off to
and
Siberia.
buttons to call customer service or pull the car over. Waymo will be the first company to test out fully driverless cars on public roads. The National Institute of Health is passing out 10,000 Fitbits. The initiative is called All of Us, and researchers will use people's lifestyle data to better understand how people's genes and environment influence overall health.
Well, I had a good
8,000
week.
people have already
I
volunteered,
had a
but
really
you need
good
to be
week.
invited to
I'm sure I had a
volunteer.
terrible week.
Apple will
You
now
didn't have.
test
Ooh,
out
yeah, you
Apple
had. You
Pay
didn't have.
Cash.
It's fine. It's fine.
Allows you to send receipt back inside a Messages app.
Thank you, good sir. Oh my God, this is king size.
You have to have a
Hey,
device
Jeff is
running
like on a roll. He's on a spending spree. He's like
Loving Jeff.
buying
You
me
had
a
some-
po' boy yesterday, buying Clyde Rice Krispie treats.
Wait, he bought you a po' boy yesterday? Man, I'll take this, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Shoot, man.
Just like the show,
That's his
fantasy.
gratitude
More people
for
in America listen to the radio than watch that throne show.
my
It's true.
openness of
Radio
having
reaches
horse
93%
racing
of
guy on
Americans
last
each
week,
week.
and
Oh, very nice. That's true. Because hey, everybody won money.
Put that in
Jeff
your
won
dragon
lots of
smoke.
money.
Radio reaches
Just
more
kidding,
adults,
IRS.
teens, and
He
even
won
the
no.
millennials.
He didn't win anything.
He won $0.
Marketing
This is a
IRS.
fictional.
lost so
This is a
much.
fictional Jeff. This is
Go to
Deaf
iHeartMedia.com
Junkin.
for the one place you can reach everybody.
Deaf
AM,
Junkin.
FM radio.
Is there anything better than a Rice Krispie treat in the world?
I mean, she'd
Yes.
never tell you that.
Alcohol.
She's humble and perfect. She
Yes.
likes everyone.
All right, Vic on the line.
Among other
All right,
things.
good deal.
Weird guinea pig.
Among other things that we can't talk about on radio.
Texting and driving? Allison, no. That's the exact opposite of what I was just saying about you. Why, Allison? Why? Texting and driving? makes good people look bad. Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Put $1,000 in your hand. Win $1,000 every hour. Up to 16 times a day. Weekdays. Starting at 5 a.m. When you hear the keyword, text it to 200-200. Listen all day.
I haven't done a poll in a while.
In your hand on
Oh, we already created a poll.
We did?
We'll tell you. But it's not online.
No, yeah, but well, yeah.
The uncensored talk about your teams. Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back to Dunc and Holder. Larry Holder, Jeff Duncan, Clyde Burdan here with you, and pleased to be joined by Vic Carucci from the Buffalo News and Sirius XM NFL Radio. I've been on his Saturday morning shows many a times. It's weird to be on the other side of the microphone from Vic, but hey, Vic, appreciate the time. And just you look at this matchup, and I'm sure you didn't assume the Bills would be 5-3. I could tell you, Jeff and me did not assume the Saints would be 6-2 at this point. How intriguing do you feel like this matchup is going to be? And it's obviously going to be important for both teams, even though it's AFC versus NFC, and it doesn't necessarily count as big in the standings as maybe another game.
Right. Well, first of all, yes, it's great to be with both of you. You guys have been longtime friends and do a tremendous job, and appreciate those many times that you come aboard on the program we do. But it's intriguing, and it is for both teams. I find it very intriguing. Full disclosure here: 5-3. 5 in anything. I mean, I had them winning. I guess I had them at 5 wins, but I had them winning 6 for the season. So I'm pretty close to likely having that prediction blown out of the water, as many of those are. But you know, to come down to this game where it's a home game beginning the second half of the schedule. You look at playoff possibilities, and they're still very fruitful for this club, given what the AFC is all about, given what the whole league is about. But the AFC in particular doesn't offer a whole lot of daunting competition beyond the New England Patriots in their own division. A wild card spot is very much there for the taking, and it could be. It could take only 9 wins to do so. I say only. And it's a long way from 5 to 9 in this league. But I think, given who they have to compete against, and the key to it is winning your home games. They're 4-0 there. So with the Saints coming to town as one of the remaining 4 home games, it's one they have to have. But Drew Brees and a 6-game win streak, and after what people saw against the Jets last Thursday night, yeah, there's a lot of angst.
Vic, I'm curious to know what's it been like covering Sean McDermott as a head coach. I mean, we don't hear a lot about him. We know him from Carolina when he was a coordinator, of course. Saints fans are very familiar with Sean McDermott, but you don't hear a lot about him nationally. What kind of coach is he, and how is he kind of adjusting to the head coaching mantle?
Yeah, Jeff, I think one of the main reasons you don't hear a lot about him nationally is he does a very good job of suppressing his personality. There's one in there somewhere. It's probably not even at its most vibrant one that's going to necessarily gain a lot of attention. And keep in mind, he comes in on the heels of a guy named Rex Ryan, who was all about personality, not very much about coaching. And I think that's the other part of this thing. I think the fan base, generally speaking, is more appreciative of having a, quote, real football coach here, and not someone who is promoting himself. And even though we as media miss that, because Rex was always good for something, good for a story angle, no matter how silly it could be. But I mean, that's what he did very well, is keep us entertained. But I don't think that's what the fan base didn't care about. That can you get some wins? Can you make the defense better, et cetera, et cetera. Sean is a very measured person when he speaks to you. But there's depth to it. I think you appreciate his team first message that he stresses constantly, and fans bought into that. There's some things that sound corny. Defend the dirt and other sayings that he has. Trust the process, which is of course not an original idea, and speaks to a lot of people to rebuilding and taking a longer view, and frustrates fans. They rather hear you win now. And I think the other thing about the 5-2 start, I'll focus on that because the Jets game had that bottom falling out feeling to it. But the 5-2 start reinforced a message that they're still looking long term with now 5 picks in the first 3 rounds after giving up that 3rd rounder for Kelvin Benjamin. But they're also having success now and can compete now. So there's and bottom line, I'd say that there's a general greater trust in the team in McDermott's hands than there was before.
Vic Carucci from the Buffalo News and Sirius XM NFL Radio joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. Vic, you've covered the league for a long time, and you always keep an eye on the league. What are your impressions of the Saints? Because, like I said, Jeff and I had no expectation. Well, Jeff maybe. I had no expectations that they'd be 6-2 and possibly a double-digit win team. And it's funny, you picked them to be Buffalo to have 6 wins. I said at 0-2 on this show that I would shave my head into a mullet if they won 10 games, and Jeff predicted them to go 10-6. And Vic, I'm worried about my hair come Christmas time. It might be mullet-esque, and it will be dangerous for my kids to see.
Well, yeah, bold choice there, friend. That's great.
Bad choice.
Here's where I'm looking at the Saints. I mean, always starting the conversation with Drew Brees as your quarterback. It's always, in my mind, it's hard to see complete, abject failure from that. That's a pretty good place to start with the guy who holds the record for 300. Because I get that 300-yard games aren't always a reflection of success, that you can build up those yards. Tyrod Taylor's had 2 in his time with the Bills, and they were both in losses. So I get that too. But I believe, with certainly a more than competent coach in Sean Payton leading the way there, and how he's put things together and found the right pieces, and they did try. They tried it with Adrian Peterson, but found something even better in they've worked their running game now, and I'm impressed with that. But I'm also very impressed with this defense and seeing Marshawn Lattimore do what he's done as a rookie corner. The Bills have a pretty good one in Tre'Davious White, a very familiar name down there. But Lattimore and this defense as a whole doing some things that maybe that was what wasn't readily obvious to those of us maybe on the outside, or even some people closer. Did you expect the defense to be what it is? And I think that's what, when you look at what could be very dangerous for Buffalo, is, you saw 2 things in their last game. You saw, number one, their defense fail in ways that I hadn't, with very poor tackling, and that running game, obviously, of the Saints is going to touch out of that, should. I don't know that they're going to tackle as poorly as they did against the Jets. I'd be shocked if they did. Some of that is the Thursday night turnaround factor. Secondly, though, and maybe this could be the big problem given the Saints' defensive prowess so far, they allowed those 7 sacks against the Jets. Tyrod Taylor was under siege the whole game. LaShawn McCoy had nowhere to run even before the game got out of hand, and they gave up on the running game. And they can't, they weren't stretching, they weren't causing the defense to worry about what the passing game has to offer. That could change now that Kelvin Benjamin's in the lineup, and I think they're fully expecting that to change. If it doesn't, then I think the remaining part of the season could be a long one for Buffalo. So these are the things that are kind of, you say, well, how much can a team change from one game to the next? Kelvin Benjamin in uniform for the Bills could be as big a change as any that they have.
Vic Carucci from the Buffalo News and Sirius XM NFL Radio. Hey, Vic, just a quick heads up. Just let our listeners know where they can catch you on the radio dial.
Sure. Doing the Sirius XM NFL Radio show at Channel 88. If you're a subscriber, it's something to check out. And guys like Larry and Jeff, I know our producers tap into the expertise, and we football. That's the key. Just like you guys do, serious football talk, and I know you talk other sports as well. But the other thing is, on the Buffalo News, if you check us out, it's called the BN Blitz. And I'm thinking Saints fan maybe just for this week want to check out what we got going on BuffaloNews.com. You can see a lot of stuff there, not just by me, but a real strong that we have covering the Bills.
Absolutely, yeah. Buffalo News, you guys cover the team unlike any other. It's a tremendous job up there. So, hey, Vic, appreciate the time. And, I will be seeing you on Sunday. So, all right, good deal. Thanks.
Yeah, looking forward to it. All the best to you guys.
All right, good deal. That's Vic Carucci from the Buffalo News and Sirius XM NFL Radio. One of the best in the business, Vic.
Yes,
absolutely one of the
he's
best.
Been around the block a few times and knows, he was with the Cleveland Browns for a while. I wanted to ask him at one point, but we had to move on. But I wanted to ask him about the Browns. He's got to feel like he escaped.
Anyone who leaves there is an escape. Absolutely.
Yes.
What was it? We had Mark Gahn on yesterday, and they said, who was the Browns free agent that they got and who's playing well?
Yeah.
I forget. But
can't remember who it was.
Yeah, but it kind of stuck in my head as we go to break here on the show. Craig Robertson, he escaped, and he was actually been a very good pickup for the Saints, and he's been playing very well in relief for Alex Anzalone this year.
We've seen that across the league. I think Travis Benjamin, the receiver with the Chargers, is having a good year.
Maybe not Paul Kruger. Maybe not.
No, I think he's out of the league.
I think so, rightfully so. So when we come back here on the show, Josh Katzenstein, NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune Saints beat writer, will get the latest on what Sean Payton had to say about Delvin Breaux. Sounds like he's going to remain on injured reserve. Of course, he had the setback with the leg. And we'll get some other news and notes from Josh. So come on back. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. We're Dunc and Holder. Come on. Boom.
I know.
Boom.
What the hell's
he doesn't realize
breathing?
He doesn't realize how sensitive mics are.
Afternoons, noon until 2.
Well, you.
LSU controls its own destiny in
pouring a drink
now,
last week. Remember?
they ain't gonna beat Alabama. So they're playing for second.
These mics are so sensitive. They catch
Which
it.
I don't know. I mean, again,
That's something to shoot for.
yeah, we could.
So no farting,
play
Jeff.
hard enough.
Don't
You
do
would
it.
be second place to Alabama.
Sorry, Angie.
Sports 1280, New Orleans.
YouTube?
Yeah. Well, I don't apologize, YouTube. Oh no, wanted to take a poll.
When it comes to
Who's going to
vehicle
sit
safety,
next to
having
you on
poor
Monday?
visibility
Clyde
and
or
not
not
worth
Clyde?
Get
I'm bringing
Amos
Amos
or
over here.
Derry. I was about to say
O'Reilly
Amos.
Auto Parts store during the
I think he has to sit over
Drive
here.
Safer
So you and Derry don't like choke each other.
Well,
send Derry to Siberia.
Yeah. To see better and drive
He can be over there.
That was my vote. That was my vote. I was like, no, Amos. Keep cool, calm Amos over here.
Yes.
Cool.
He does a pretty good job.
You've heard about podcasts, but maybe you didn't know where to start.
We have a pretty good show today.
Was making podcast listening easy. Just open the free iHeartRadio app and tap podcasts. There you'll find hand-picked collections of our favorite podcasts to help you get started. The biggest names in podcasting, like the Bill Simmons Podcast, The Herd with Colin Cowherd, and so many more. All available for free. Now, your favorite radio app can be your favorite podcast app. Download the free iHeartRadio app today.
Your favorite
Georgia
podcast.
remains
Duncan
atop this week's college football playoff rankings. The Dogs, followed by Bama, Notre Dame, and Clemson, just outside the top 4. Oklahoma
saying
at
that
number
you're
5, TCU at number
downloading
6. Miami, Wisconsin,
just
Washington,
Spreaker went
Auburn
right in.
round
You're
out
not
the
worried
top
about
10.
SoundCloud.
The Phoenix Suns are dealing disgruntled point guard.
No, what I
Bledsoe to the
tweet
Milwaukee
out
Bucks.
the ones from sports1280.com. So it's like
Major League Baseball
iHeart.
honoring the best defensive players in the sport with a
Now,
Gold
when I
Glove award.
embed,
Rockies, Diamondbacks,
it's
Twins,
always
Angels,
from
and Royals all
SoundCloud.
have 2
Yeah.
players that take home a Gold
Like
Glove.
I embedded the two
A sad day
right
across the
into our
sport.
post.
Former Blue Jay
But when I
affiliate
tweeted out,
Roy Halladay killed
I didn't
in a
tweet it
small
out
light
yesterday.
That's why I was confused now, because I
crash
went into
off
your
the
post
St.
and it
Petersburg,
was SoundCloud.
Florida
I was
coast
like,
yesterday.
No, when I tweeted out,
County
I do
Sheriff Chris
iHeart just because
Marco
I'd rather
was
them get the numbers than us. Like,
It is a
yeah.
true
Help
loss
us
for
down the
us.
road.
Yeah.
I have no doubt he is looking down with God up in heaven because his heart was a heart of gold.
The 40-year-old and eight-time All-Star and two-time Cy Young
You can
Award
tell it's
winner.
like when you get someone on who like
NBC
does
News
radio and stuff, they. That's why I was like, we got to cut
Sensory
it.
sensitivity, repetition.
Just because we're gonna run out of time.
Yeah,
with
his
Josh.
show's good. I've heard his show.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
can see signs of autism.
Oh, dude,
in
anytime they
children as
call,
young
I'm like,
as
yes,
18.
absolutely.
Learn the
Agreed.
signs at autismspeaks.org/signs.
Yeah,
What's up with
By
Vontae Davis?
Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
He like
Habitat
fall out of
for
favor or something?
Humanity builds houses.
I don't know what's going on with him.
And so much
They
more.
cut him.
What?
Habitat
Cut him.
builds
Vontae
cities
Davis?
where
Yeah.
hanging a door
I mean, he's supposed to have need seasoning surgery. I didn't know you could.
turning a screw.
I didn't know you could cut somebody if they were.
And where a simple key
I don't know what's going
can
on.
unlock a brighter future. You
They-
see,
I know they
Habitat for Humanity builds houses.
Yeah, I mean,
and
he was like
so much more.
Colts like getting rid of Philip Dorsett. I mean, just things are falling apart there.
Yeah.
To learn more.
Irsay thinks Andrew Luck's a wimp, essentially.
Yeah. Jim Irsay talking about star quarterback.
Yeah.
Hi, neighbor.
Mr. Rogers passed along friendship, hoping we would too.
Good thing Sean didn't go
Pass it
there.
on from the
That'd have worked out real well.
BetterLifeAndValues.com.
Never made it as a wise man. I couldn't cut it as a poor man stealing.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
I assume Angie's got to have our buddy Josh Katzenstein on the line if we're playing Nickelback, right? I mean, he's got to be here, right? Josh, this is your time. Nickelback Thursday. How are you, my friend?
Doing quite poorly now.
Oh.
Great morning, and it's a shame. I like talking to you guys, but I can't do it anymore. This will have to be the last time, and not even going to be good.
Look, Angie, she was like, who's the Nickelback fan? And we said it's Joshua. No doubt about it. You and...
Just typical Larry, just spreading lies all over the place. And this might be the worst lie you've ever told.
I've told some bigger
That's
lies.
saying something.
I've told some bigger... At least not journalistically, I don't lie. Now, other things I may elaborate, like some other things. But, hey, Josh, Sean Payton had his conference call this morning, and the most notable news is Delvin Breaux. Just kind of give our listeners the latest on what's going on with him and the injury to the leg.
Yeah, so Sean Payton, in a very brief teleconference this morning, said that Delvin Breaux will be on IR for the rest of the season. He suffered a setback last week in practice. I believe it was on Thursday. Wasn't out there on Friday. And then, there was a report out there that was like a 3 to 6 week setback. But obviously, at this point, the Saints don't really need him right now. And there's not really much reason to rush him back. And if you keep him, available, you'd have to, today was the deadline for them to put him on the active roster. And really, if he's not healthy, you're just keeping him there so that he can be inactive until he's ready to play. And like I said, we don't know exactly how good he is right now, where he would fit into that cornerback depth chart. And they have Marshawn Lattimore and Ken Crawley playing well. So I think they're just making, the smart and healthy decision here.
Here's the concern I have with that, Josh, is right now they're fine, I think, with the lineup they have, but they are precariously thin there. I mean, if they get one injury, I think, at the cornerback spot, I guess they go with P.J. Williams, who's starting to work his way back in, but they are thin at that position. That was one thing that I thought the return of Breaux would at least help with. You'd have an experienced guy there, knows the scheme, and you have some depth. Now they're, I don't know, beyond P.J. Williams, who do you go to, right?
Well, so that P.J. Williams is one reason I think they are deep because, excuse me, if right now he's not really playing. They're pretty much going with 2 cornerbacks and 3 safeties as their base defense, and I think P.J. Williams played a little bit in the last game, when they decided to use 3 cornerbacks, but ultimately, if Lattimore or Crawley were to get hurt, P.J. would just step right in as the starter. After him, it gets a little dicey, but really, you can't just plan for 2 injuries. Certainly, it would be nice to, have better depth, but you can't just, hope. You can't just, expect the worst. The Saints, I think, have had so many injuries at that position in recent years that they know that there's always a chance that the worst might come. But I think that they're, okay, because PJ was playing well, or at least good enough, before Crawley, earned that spot away from him. But yeah, like I said, Devontae Harris would probably be the next guy up. After for him to be Justin Hardy, who doesn't have that much experience playing cornerback. Obviously, he looks really good on special teams, but we don't know how he looks on defense. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely an issue, but, like I said, it's not like Bro would have come in and contributed right away either.
Josh Katzenstein of NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune covers the Saints, joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. Josh, a little tease to our audience. I know you're working on a story kind of chronicling the offensive line, and it's, to me, the most, maybe some fans aren't underrating it, but I feel like it's the most underrated aspect of why they're 6-2, given all of the injuries and everything that they've gone through. Even in games, guys are switching spots because of injuries. Just your perspective on the offensive line, and just it seems like the Saints are so fortunate that they have quality depth, that they're not in some gigantic hole and getting Drew Brees crushed and the running game disappearing. I mean, that front five is keeping this thing going.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it might be the most important storyline of the season so far. I mean, you look at what those guys have done. Ryan Ramczyk, as a rookie, has played left and right tackle. He's switched during games. Senio Kelemete has played left guard, right guard, and right tackle. He's switched during games. Andrus Peat has played left guard and left tackle. I mean, they've sustained all these injuries, whether it's Armstead or Shreve or Larry Warford now, and they just haven't really missed a beat. I mean, they're obviously at their best when they're all healthy, but I mean, I think it's really a testament to what the front office has done in terms of just building that position, either through the draft. I mean, they've got 2 first-round picks up there with Pete and Ramczyk. They've got a third-round pick with Armstead. They've got, some veteran pieces with Shreve, Unger, and now Kelemete and Joshua Ribius. And, I mean, I think you look at the offense, just the balance that they've had running and passing, and a lot of that is because the offensive line has played well and fought through all of these issues. So I think, obviously Drew Brees and Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas and, some of the guys on defense get, the name recognition. I think, it all starts up front for this offense.
Josh, we know that Taron Armstead did not practice yesterday. Kenny Vaccaro didn't practice yesterday. What do you think are the contingency plans if one or both of those guys can't play on Sunday?
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty easy to predict with Armstead. I mean, if he can't play, but he did say he was optimistic yesterday. But if he can't play, they would just put Pete at left guard, and I imagine they'd put Pete at left tackle, and I imagine they'd put Senio Kelemete at left guard because that's where he has his most experience. But Kelemete could stay at right guard, and Joshua Ribius could play left guard, which is what they did last week when Armstead went down. With Vaccaro, it's a little tougher because they do like that 3 safety package so much. But I think, if he's not there, they would try to get their best 11 guys on the field. And really, this would actually be not the worst game for him to miss because it's such a run-focused team, the Bills are, that, they could just add an extra lineman or an extra linebacker on defense, to account for the run. But if they do want to go with 3 safety package, it would probably be Chris Banjo as the third guy behind Marcus Williams and Von Bell. They could also go, more 3 cornerback and get P.J. Williams on the field. I mean, they have a lot of options. And I think, as we talk about this defense, that's probably the best, indicator of their success is that they do finally have some depth, and are able to overcome at least a couple injuries.
Josh Katzenstein, NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. Follow him on Twitter at @JKatzenstein. Hey, Josh, appreciate the time, and go Nickelback, man. We're going to be close to Canada on Sunday, so you might go check out their hometown or whatever. It's like your Graceland.
Well, I won't be spending any time with you, Larry, and unless some things change, you guys I might have to find a new Thursday morning guest.
Man, what a hater. Anywho, bye, Joshua. Whatever.
Bye, Lawrence.
Bye. All right, that's Josh Katzenstein. Hour number 1 is up. Hour number 2 is on the way, so come on back here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. We're Dunc and Holder.
Nickelbackenstein.
Oh, no.
That's a new nickname. I'm going with it.
Oh, no.
He's...
I need a credit card that's got no limit and a big black chair with a bedroom in it. Gonna join the Mile High Club at 37,000 feet.
WODT WNOE FM HD2 New Orleans. Listen on the free iHeartRadio app. Search Sports 1280.
Hey, Angie, just a heads up. We top of the hour, we get out at 58:50 typically. So that's why I just like scurried and got out.
Pull in the China shop over there. You're coming in so loud.
NFL,
You're like
TJ Lang of the
reverberating the microphone.
What do you expect? Oh, I was gonna say we're not on, right?
No.
What do you expect me to do, man? I'm not like, hey, where are you gonna come?
Mics are sensitive.
It's like, hey, you're gonna come this
Coming in, slams your cup down. It's like, boom, in the middle of
He needs groin surgery, and he is expected
You're gonna have
to be
this
done
meeting on the only day. It's
Los
like,
Angeles
nope,
Rams running back Malcolm Brown. He's out indefinitely with an MCL injury.
You are
big
ball and
matters
China
in
shop.
the NFL in terms
David
of participation and practice.
squirming in the corner
Forte
again.
was out. Jeremy Hill was
Always
out.
afraid of what we say in the
Bengals as well. And Cowboys head
Yeah,
coach
because
Jason
Dave's
Garrett
cursing,
says
he's not supposed to be doing that either,
Bryant
still
will be able to participate in some form of practice today. He's got trouble
He did it
ankle and
in the
also
show
a
yesterday, or 2 days ago.
Oh,
I heard him say it. When he was
Mercy. Also, like you made a
YouTube.
comment about rambling Herbie. Herbie? Talking about John Reed. Rambling. I go,
Oh, yeah.
He's worse than John Reed. Just said it into the mic.
Oh my god. Oh my god, you're so savage. That's terrible.
Hey, Larry.
Jeez, Jeff. Mercy.
Say that again about the end of the hour.
We go out at 58:50.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why I like scurried to get out.
And I didn't have a
Scurry
lot
to
of the
get out.
slots at the end, so I didn't.
Oh yeah, okay, that's okay. I just
Well, now you can get.
But the log's been light already, so I mean that makes sense. But I know now.
Okay, yeah, no worries. Yeah. But because I like,
savings of 40.
I'm like, oh, I gotta go to break bite. So I didn't want you to be like, oh my god, what are you doing?
Then a fill to your.
We just heard some more Nickelback. It's all good.
Oh, we could. I know. No. Jeff's got a new name for him.
That number again.
Nickelbackstein or what? Yeah, Josh Nickelbackstein.
Unbelievable.
Cancer
That's so
experts
terrible.
say
Glorious.
even light consumption of alcohol
Man,
can increase your
this would
risk
be the
of
time we
cancer.
might have,
the
like,
American
Todd on
Society of
and talk
Clinical
to him.
Oncology
Nice.
says
It's like,
5.5% of all
Nice.
new
Doing it.
cancers are
Wonderful.
linked to alcohol.
Like we're gonna send this Thursday out show with a
Neck,
bang.
throat,
So we're
and
not
voice
doing it.
box
I'm saying, so
cancer,
it'll be,
liver and colon cancer, a type of
College,
esophageal
the last
cancer,
hour.
and breast cancer. The more you drink, the higher the
bunch of
risk.
stuff I don't
Their
know about.
message is, if you don't drink now, don't start. CVS Health, one of the nation's biggest drugstore chains,
Of course, I do
says
8
it
burning
plans
questions,
to
and
launch
one of them was
next-day
about Delvin
prescription
Bro.
drug
And
delivery
Yeah,
service
and now it's kind of like,
next
oh hey, Delvin Bro.
Well, I
Same
turned
service
this
in
into
several
print
major cities, including
on
New York and San
Tuesday.
Francisco. The move is
'Cause they
seen
wanted
as a
to run
way
it,
for
like, Sunday,
CS
and
to
I'm like,
gird
I just
itself
emailed him, I was like,
against
oh, take
possible
that one out.
competition by Amazon. Drugstore chains
like
are
the
worried
gamble.
that Amazon
when you gotta
will
nasty
disrupt
shit.
their
Yeah,
industry.
some of this
The way
stuff's
it's
so
changed the way people buy toys, books, and groceries. Health Update, Sarah Lee Kessler, NBC News Radio.
I knew I had a problem.
I tried counting calories, eating and eating.
Nobody else could possibly understand.
We understand. We're Overeaters Anonymous, and we have helped thousands of people stop their compulsive eating and start living a healthy, rewarding life.
With OA, I am living again and loving it.
Start living the life you deserve with help from Overeaters Anonymous. Find us on the web at oa.org.
Sports 1280, New Orleans. Instant replay. Josh Innes. Afternoons noon until 2.
I also found out today, and this is a quote, a direct quote from the doctor I saw today. Direct quote. He says, "You have the testosterone of an 80-year-old man."
So this is the worst news you've ever gotten?
Now, come on, Jim. I don't think I need overly sappy music to talk about this.
Oh, you don't think so?
By the way, what about those radio guys in Boston saying that Roy Halladay deserved to die?
Today, we got Clay Travis on the show today, and we've...
That's why we can't have nice things, man. I'm just telling you.
Clearly has no issue.
It's
with
like of all the things you could possibly say after the man tragically loses his life in a plane accident, regardless of whether or not it's his fault. Oh, hey, he deserved to die, because you know who also deserved to die? Dale Earnhardt.
I'm gonna say, but I mean, I saw the video.
Yeah, you saw that, right?
I just thought it was because I was...
Apparently, at least the story I read in Deathman, like that's the third...
I think the guy who made the plane.
Yeah, he did. Yes, yes, he and someone else. Yeah.
You look at the doctor in the eye, and the doctor tells you that you...
But you looked at the plane.
Look at the plane. It's like cool. It's cool. It's cool as all get out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like what?
And
It is pretty sweet.
And I don't know. I mean, we're gonna treat you. We can treat you.
I wouldn't.
Yeah. But you're basically like the corpse of Abe Vigoda.
You're like Grandpa Simpson.
I'm just. Right after that, I went outside and argued with a cloud.
Listen live weekdays on Sports 1280 and the free iHeartRadio app, or catch up at sports1280.com. A grand in your hand? Sounds good, doesn't it? The next keyword is minutes away on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Dunc and Holder, hour number 2 on a Thursday, November 9th, as we are high atop the city here, 32nd floor of the Canal Place at the foot of Canal Street in our NOLA.com Time-Speaking Studios. I'm apparently going to do this show without Jeff. I have no idea where he is.
It's okay. Left. I'm here.
The seat is empty. Clyde is here.
I am. So technically the show can still go on because there's 2 people here.
I do remember when Jeff had to bail out of the show at some point.
It's a good show.
You came on and you actually changed my mind on something.
Brought it. I was prepared, dude. I was so prepared. I was ready. I said, as soon as I get in that seat, it's go time. I'm gonna bring it, and I brought it.
I really have no idea where Jeff went.
And you know what we were talking about then? College football.
Exactly. So we're gonna spend this second hour speaking mainly on college football. Of course, LSU is taking on Arkansas, 11 a.m. kick. I know fans are probably upset because they won't get their sufficient amount of tailgating.
Like they need to have it comparatively to other fans across the country.
Just get out there at 4 a.m.
The Big Ten does it. The Big Ten does it, and they don't complain about it.
Well,
Big Ten with 11 a.m., 12, 11 a.m. noon kickoff.
Isn't most of the Big Ten and their tailgating lame outside of, say, Wisconsin? I mean, Wisconsin,
I would say that's look. So, Big Ten Network (BTN) does a show where they go to. As Larry still wonders where Jeff is.
Hey, good to see you. We've been on the air for 2 minutes. What are you doing?
It's okay, Jeff. I've totally got this. Just like we were talking about this the last time.
Rolling on in.
The last time you were gone, I brought it. So I was hoping you didn't come back so I could bring it again. So we were talking about BTN and the Big Ten Network, and now they go to different tailgates every. They
just
have
to
their own
catch you up
show.
on your show. Just a heads up.
On Clyde and Holder.
The break was
Sassy Clyde and Holder.
A little shorter this time.
No, same.
The break was short.
Nope. So
I wanted to give Cocky Clyde a little
clearly
airtime.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
You act like he won't just claim it himself.
Amen.
The YouTube listeners or viewers all together are clamoring for more Clyde.
I know. They know what's up because I'm in the chats, I'm in the comments, we're having great discussion, talking about all things sports, and then whatever you guys talk about, then I usually get to correct you about the fact that Nichols is the best team in the state of Louisiana in college football. But hey, that's neither here nor there.
That's because they have a Rummel Raider at quarterback.
Yes, they do, and that man is that dude. Shout out to Chase Forcade.
Another shout out. Casey Kasem.
He is the dude. So happy he's my quarterback at Nichols. Love it.
Do you approve of our nickname for Josh?
I don't. He told me during the break, and I don't, because I want him to come on the show because he brings great knowledge and great information, and then you guys want to just at every turn give him just an absolute non-starter for him to come on the show.
So what is his last name?
Nickelbackenstein.
I'd never come on the show again, man.
Probably
never.
not.
I wouldn't do it.
No.
Wouldn't do it.
Well,
that's terrible.
Herbie will come on.
Here's the thing, yeah, and
you could have done better if you had named him Chad Krogenstein.
See, we could have done that too.
See, that's why I'm here again.
That's right. And see,
no, stop that. Stop that in the booth. Stop that in the booth. Thank you, Angie.
We love you.
We do, but stop that. Don't do that.
Anything to pain Cocky Clyde over there. But no, okay, so back to where we were, because we pivoted off into... Jeff, where were we? Can you tell us?
Can you tell us where we were, Jeff?
No.
Well, where were you?
I was talking to somebody.
You were probably tinkling and...
Although at the same time, though, no, seriously, there are a lot of meetings going on in this building right now. There are a lot of meetings on these 2 floors. Every conference room in here is filled by someone having some kind of meeting with either 2 people up to... on the very first floor, it's like there's like 11 people in there.
Well, that's
so
what happens at offices.
We don't have that. And Jeff, I'm in this office every day.
Not every day.
Well, not
every day too.
We are here. You and me are here every day.
Thank you. Well, was there something you were implying there?
Well, yes, there's something I'm implying. I work more days technically and more hours.
Than us? I'd beg to differ, my friend.
Yeah, that's true.
I'd beg to differ. Anywho, okay.
Comparable.
Let's rein the cattle back in, Jeff.
So
we were talking
about
LSU, Arkansas, 11 o'clock kickoff, and I'm wondering how many fans are complaining because it's 11 a.m. and they don't get to tailgate. And I was saying Big Ten. Well, at least Clyde brought up how the Big Ten does it every week, and I say every other tailgating probably stinks except for, say, Wisconsin, because they go big no matter what.
Yeah, well, look, it's big everywhere in the Big Ten.
It's big everywhere in the Big Ten.
Lots of huge institutions.
That's why it's big.
But look, I mean,
the B1G.
LSU fans, I think it was Andrew Lopez said something to me 15 minutes before kickoff at Bryant-Denny Stadium. That stadium was packed. There was no one not in their seat 15 minutes before kickoff, as opposed to LSU, where there are fans trickling in the middle of the second quarter. Everybody's out partying. That's always been an issue, and Les Miles said that before. And look, I think it's something that's relevant, because when you go to an Alabama game, it is a hostile environment from the opening kickoff, not from midway through the second quarter on. LSU fans need to get their butts in their seats.
But I feel like that happens in the Dome, too.
Well, that's because of security measures. Security measures.
I don't know about that. I feel like there's well, I'm going to be the worst LSU fan ever.
It's going to be hard to beat.
I don't go to Baton Rouge, obviously, because our schedule limits. I mean, heck, I can't go this week because I'm traveling, because I'm going to Buffalo. But whenever I go to LSU games, I don't go to the game. I sit at the tailgate and watch it on TV at the tailgate, and I don't go to the game.
Okay. You have a ticket to the game?
I will not purchase a ticket.
No, that's my point. No, he doesn't. If you have a ticket,
I could
you have
certainly
a responsibility to be in that seat to help LSU win.
But I could get a ticket if I wanted to, but no, I don't do it.
Here's the big question.
My point is, you're tailgating all day. I mean, you're out there. Almost LSU fans are out there for hours.
And most of them, with their RVs, the RV group, get there on Friday nights.
Exactly. So that 30 to 45 minutes into the game, come on, get there earlier. Get there another hour early and help LSU win and create a home field advantage. You've been there 7 hours out tailgating. Okay. Do you need that extra 30 to 45 minutes? Is that hard
to stumble across Nicholson to get into Tiger Stadium?
I mean, it's not like you're out there an hour before kickoff and you got to see everybody.
But here's the question that I ask, and this is the question I've been thinking about a lot more lately, specifically now going to Saints games, going to LSU games, going to a bunch of different types of games. I think, and this is a question for you two specifically to expound on now or later on when we have more time, but have we gotten to the point where now, especially if we talk about an LSU game, we talk about, LSU has to do more things to get fans involved. We need to have a beer garden. We need to have, we need to be able to show replays or different games on the Jumbotron or the large screens in the stadium, and do all these things to bring in fans to deal with TVs. Because fans aren't engaged the way they used to be. Like, what's next? Do we need to have social media posts on? Oh, wait, they already do that too. How far have we gone along getting away from going to a game to be in the totality of an experience, as opposed to saying, I need to go to a game because I'm not getting something that I would get if I was sitting at home?
Well, does everybody have ADD? Can't they just
watch
the game?
Clearly.
Watch the game. I mean, did people back in the 50s need some kind
of
entertainment?
But even we do it. If we talk about how fans aren't either engaged in the game at the stadium, or it's not a great atmosphere, or LSU has the best atmosphere in college football when the team is winning and people have a reason to go. Is that so much of a reason to go specifically, other than saying, I am going for what used to be a ritualistic event where, I'm going to see so-and-so, I'm going to be in Death Valley with 92,000, 102,000 people, and then I'm going to root my team on to victory. That's no longer enough. Now it's got to be, what are you doing to bring me in to make it more entertaining for me, outside of the fact that the reason that you're going is to watch a game in person?
Well, I would say this, in defense of the fan, and comparing it to the 50s probably isn't fair, because they're probably paying 10 times more, 20 times more. They're being asked to dig deep into their wallets when a lot of people don't have that kind of money to support LSU to fund all these other things that are going on.
Yeah.
So they do have to think about the fan experience to some degree because
Of course.
they're asking for people to invest a lot of money.
Right, and I don't think that's, especially to that point, it's not so much that we're condemning the idea that for what fans used to get, as opposed to it was a lot more than what they're getting currently in terms of what they're paying for, what they're allowing, what they're quote-unquote funding through their, especially if you go to LSU, if you're an LSU season ticket holder, it means you're a member of TAF, it means you have other fees that you have to pay for that's in there that are going to the rest of these things that are also being built for LSU athletics. But the idea that we sometimes allow, okay, it's going to be 11 a.m. kickoff against Arkansas, which the reason why this game is at 11 a.m. is because Arkansas is not a good team. Has nothing to do with the fact that LSU lost last week. It was probably going to be the same thing anyway because Arkansas is awful. This is not going to be one of the marquee
What if
games.
Arkansas wins?
Then it wouldn't be any surprise than what we saw with Les Miles.
That Larry face that we saw yesterday on the meme.
It's Larry. Exactly.
Thank you, Larry, for coming in for that.
If you go on Twitter, but no, look, there's a reason why Joe Oliva brought up a couple weeks ago at the the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation. Is it the Touchdown Club?
Yes,
meeting
the Quarterback Club.
Quarterback Club. There's a reason why I brought up, well, we might sell beer in the stadium because you want to keep butts in the seats. And
he wants that money.
Like me.
He wants revenue.
Well,
that's what he wants.
But that's me. Look, I watch.
Not going to help that though.
I watch games all the time. When I personally go to LSU, I don't go to the game. I'd go because of the atmosphere. And if I go to the game and I'm not in a suite, I lose that. And I just want to relax. But that's me personally. Obviously, there's 100-something thousand people who are not the same person as me. But that's
Clearly,
me
thank
personally.
goodness.
Well, they should be. This world would be dangerous if there was.
But it's not about beer in the stadium. It's about another revenue stream. That's what it's always about. It's about different revenue streams coming in to fund new bathrooms and concourses in Tiger Stadium. It's helping to build the nutrition center at Football Ops. It's helping to make a beach volleyball or a sand volleyball court next to the stadium and renovating that used to be the tennis stadium, whatever it is. It's all of these things that continue to add up to we're thinking about the fans, but we're also thinking about our bottom line too. And then that turns into, well, LSU has one of the greatest venues in college football, but man, it's really only good when the team is 9-0, 10-0, ranked number 5 in the country, and is on a national championship or SEC championship hunt. And none of those things are necessarily inexclusive of themselves, but they all can't add up to the same thing about how it's going to be a terrible atmosphere on Saturday where it's going to be half full and fans don't want to come out because it's an 11 a.m. game.
I have a very important question to ask. Has the new Mike the Tiger been at Tiger Stadium?
Mike the Tiger will never go to another football game in Tiger Stadium ever again.
Why not?
Because of
PETA?
PETA and other animal rights activist groups, and that was one of the big stipulations for the new Mike the Tiger was that the new Mike the Tiger, after they brought Mike the Tiger, what was it, not last year, but it was 2 years ago when they tried bringing him for
I like how we have to add the Tiger at the end. Like we don't.
Yes, as opposed to
Mike the Tiger.
It might be Mike Archer.
Could be.
Bring him back.
I don't think they want to bring back Mike Archer either. But no, one of the stipulations after the previous Mike passed away was that no matter what happened, that Mike or future Mikes will never, ever be put in another rolling cage to go to another football game or really anywhere because of the idea of them looking like they are not there's not a habitat or sanctuary for tigers, which is another reason why they're trying to make Mike's habitat an actual tiger sanctuary as well, so that it just doubles the fact that no, we're not misusing this tiger, we're not mistreating this tiger, it's not just a dog and pony show, but we actually care about these animals.
Yes, it's a tiger show.
Well, it's a tiger show.
I've got an idea. All that money they're going to make from beer sales, take some of that, take a few pennies from that, and fund this awesome tiger cage right behind the opponent's bench, long about from the 30 to the 30, so he can roam up and down and
how are you going to get him there, Jeff?
And intimidate him.
How are you going to get him there?
Intimidate the opponents. Have a Mike the Tiger roaming all behind their bench. That'd be awesome.
It would be the same thing as in an Ace Ventura when they had the actual dolphin tank and he's jumping out and
yes. Let's have Mike the Tiger right there prowling behind the opponent. Be the greatest thing ever.
What the hell just happened with this segment?
I don't know.
Well, you were talking about tigers.
I noticed it wasn't at the last game, and I was curious.
Well, he's never going to be at another game ever again. So
It's kind of sad.
Hopefully everybody who saw it the last time enjoyed it, because that's going to be the last time that happens, because it's never going to happen again.
Well, I'll just hang out with Mike the Tiger outside the stadium.
You and your Michelob Ultra.
Does Georgia bring Uga to the game?
Yes.
Is he allowed to come?
Yes, he is.
What's a little dog?
It's the same thing, or an animal.
Uga, the South Carolina chicken, or whatever that is.
So bringing a tiger out is the same thing as bringing a dog.
He's not roaming free.
Well, he's so fat he can't move.
And Uga's little dog house is also air conditioned.
What the hell just happened?
I'm
Let's
just
take
telling you,
Angie, get me the hell out of this
I don't
segment.
understand,
Let's
like,
take a
it was
break
such a good
right here
segment.
on the show. When we get back, we'll actually talk about, the sport of football, maybe, LSU taking on Arkansas.
I already gave you a little bit. Arkansas is terrible.
Consider the tiger cage behind the bench.
They
Consider
won't.
it.
And then in about 15 minutes, we will have Clyde's time to shine. If he hasn't shined enough, we will talk about our college
he's shined enough.
picks. So,
I did really well this week. Y'all didn't.
That's about right. So come on back here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. We're Dunc and Holder.
I got to look at the lines. Let's see.
Your shot at
LSU's got to be heavily favored, right?
Text the keyword. To 200-200. You'll get a text confirming entry plus iHeartRadio info.
Standard data and message rates apply.
That's win to 200-200.
That's why I just emailed her back. We were discussing the topic. We weren't we were actually
discussing the fact that some other jabronis were making fun of it. And that's not cool. That is not cool at all.
Right, exactly.
It's Tulane football. The Wave visit East Carolina this Saturday, November 11th. Here on your home for Tulane football.
Sports 1280, New Orleans.
This week on Big Easy Deals, get a
Jersey
family
Sales
four-pack
soaring for Saints
aquarium of the
quarterback Drew
Americans.
Brees.
At the
Again?
aquarium, penguins,
Probably been
stingrays,
a long
sharks,
time.
and other deep-sea
Sure,
creatures
good
await
point.
your visit.
What,
Get your family four-pack for only
the
$48
lines.
at
I wanna see.
FoxSportsAM1280.com. Keyword deals.
Right now at Kohl's, get ready for the holidays and get Kohl's Cash for you. Get $10 Kohl's Cash for every $50 you
is
spend.
16 and a
Get a
half
40-piece
points.
Food Network dinnerware set for $69.99 and get $10 Kohl's
17
Cash.
on mine.
Or a 10-piece cookware set for
Look at
$149.99
Odshark.
and get $30 Kohl's Cash. Get a Shark vacuum for $399.99 and you'll get
That's the one I
$80
typically
Kohl's
use,
Cash.
Odshark.
Earn Kohl's Cash on everything. Spend it on anything. Give joy, get joy. Right now at Kohl's. Select
Oh,
size.
well,
Some
speaking
exclusions
of
apply.
odds.
See store or Kohls.com for details.
Alvin Kamara is now
a free online resource about
on the odds
designed
for
to help you
Offensive
help your
Rookie of the
child
Year.
thrive in school and
He
in
just
life.
jumped on this week.
Understood.org.
Really? Yeah.
Because
Who's the
understanding
favorite?
is everything.
Kareem Hunt.
Brought to you by
Well, Deshaun Watson
Ad
fell.
Council.
He became Hunt,
Waymo
Fournette,
will
then
start
Kamara.
schlepping around people in
He's gotta make
minivans
one.
without
He's got too
anyone
many-
behind the
too much
wheel.
competition.
The autonomous car unit.
He's
of
gotta be, like,
parent company
insane.
Alphabet
Yeah, like Hunt,
is
Rest of the
testing
way.
out
Hunt
their
and
vehicles
Fournette are gonna get
without
a bigger
safety
role.
drivers
Well, because
in
they're
the
their
limited
number
region of
one
Phoenix.
every down back.
I even saw Tre'Davious White getting a little bit of love too.
The vans
He's
have
having a
a
good year.
graphical
Yeah.
interface in the
He
back
is having a
seat,
good
which
year.
lets
They're
drivers
having-
watch the driverless
him
scores and buttons to
he
call
and
customer
Lattimore,
service or pull the car
I guess
over.
the two best rookie
Waymo will be
corners.
the first company to test out fully driverless cars on public
They
roads.
could have drafted him
the
at the end of the
National
first round.
Institute of Health
They'd
is
had-
passing out 10,000.
I had White.
The
I had
initiative is
White
all of
on
us as researchers
definitely in a
who use
mock.
people's
Can you imagine
lifestyle
that?
data
White
to
and Lattimore to be
understand
they'd
how
be set
people's
for
genes
years.
and environment influence
Oh,
overall
well,
health.
speaking of, I'm glad I made fun of myself for
But you need to be invited to
one of the
volunteer.
columns I wrote this
Apple
week
will
about
now let you test out
Malcolm
Apple
Butler,
Pay
but he's
cash.
actually playing better.
Person-to-person
Yeah, he's coming
payments
on.
allows you
Yeah.
to send
Yeah,
and
they're
receive
coming.
cash
They're coming on. They're
inside
not.
the Messages app
You know
on
what
your
else is
phones.
going to be
To be
really
part of the
tough
test,
is Pittsburgh.
you
I
have
looked
to
at their
have a
schedule.
device
They don't play
running the
anybody.
iOS 2
Like
operating
they're.
system.
I think they're.
I didn't realize
They're 6-2, and they've got like a easy schedule the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Jennifer.
They might be the
Coolidge.
biggest threat to
The
New
American
England.
Heart Association says the
Because
disco
if they get
song
New England and
Stayin'
Pittsburgh, I
Alive
think they'll beat
is
them.
your perfect
Oh, yeah.
beat for hands-only CPR.
Place is tough to play.
Well, I think that's
Your
why,
adult collapsed from cardiac
of course,
arrest.
odds
You
McGee
only
over
need
here.
2 steps to help save
I think
a life.
Pittsburgh's
Call
like second or
911,
third in
push
Super
hard and
Bowl
fast
odds,
in
like
the
to
center
win
of
it.
the
Are they
chest.
really?
Yeah,
Wow.
they-
The
I didn't know
song
that.
Stayin'
Let
Alive.
me look at my column.
Disco is back
Why
in
don't
its
you look at your
saving
emails
lives.
that you got about
I got it in my column.
It's got every.
.org
It's got every
hands-only
odds.
CPR.
Pittsburgh is third. Yeah, Philly's first, New England second, Pittsburgh third right now.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Or the Saints.
tied for sixth.
All right.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Jeff was jamming to this song in his bedroom in the mid '80s, I guess, or early '80s, right?
Why don't you bring up the sock hop like you usually do?
Ooh, let's not. Wait, you're the one that does that.
That's when you were in like the 1950s, the old sock hops. That was your time to shine, the 1950s sock hops.
Sha Na Na. I was listening to Sha Na
Chuck
Na.
Berry and Elvis at the sock hop.
Buddy Holly.
Yes.
It was my era.
Absolutely. Totally your era. I mean, you were probably about 30 at that point. Anywho. LSU taking on Arkansas this week. And you were mentioning what happens if they lose. And I gave this look at you and I said...
the stink face.
Yeah, definitely like the side-eye stink face.
The gas face.
That would be, though, something, and Claude, you brought up, that would be typical less. And we haven't seen that from Orgeron.
No. In fact, that'll be going up today. Since Ed Orgeron has taken over at LSU, LSU has not lost back-to-back games.
Well, that means, win one, lose one, win one, lose one.
Not necessarily in that cause, but I mean, obviously, last year lost to Florida and then won every game after that. So, lost to Troy, won the next two going into Alabama.
Well, look, they've got incentive because if they win out, they're going to get a New Year's Day bowl.
They won their next three because they beat Florida, Auburn, Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They win out, they get a New Year's Day bowl, and that's a huge incentive for this team. If they lose any of these three, I don't think they're going to land a New Year's Day bowl. 4 losses.
I don't think they will. I think they'll steamroll the next 3 games. My opinion. That's just me, though. I think they're going to steamroll each of the next 3 opponents because you're right. Like, I think we talked about this last week. Literally, Ed Orgeron and LSU are going up against 3 of the most embattled coaches right now that are on the hottest of hot seats. Brett Bielema, Butch Jones, Kevin Sumlin, all in consecutive weeks after A&M got routed last week at home because apparently they don't like to beat SEC West teams at Kyle Field. Arkansas that went toe-to-toe with Coastal Carolina. And then Tennessee, that literally the only thing that's keeping Butch from being the first fired coach was that Jim McElwain had to go on TV and talk about death threats that he didn't receive. Seriously?
I'm wondering that you look at the coaching landscape and it's always the Nick Saban factor. Jeff, I know you've written about this before, and I don't wonder when it's going to stop because I know the only time it's going to stop is when Nick Saban goes away from Alabama because everyone's playing for second place while he's there, and I don't know how you get past it. And Kirby Smart is doing his best job to do it, but of course he is. But also he's a Nick Saban disciple, that comes from that coaching tree, and it's. I don't know. I'm wondering, obviously the SEC, I feel like you look at Alabama, Georgia, and everything else is down. When does it bump back up? Because, look, you're hearing if Auburn doesn't get it done, we know they play Georgia. We know they play Alabama. They could lose both of those games. If they go 8-4, people are talking about that Gus Malzahn could be out.
Yeah, that's crazy, though. But, look, I think you have to credit Georgia for finally waking up and playing somebody outside the conference. I know they played, I think for a while there they were playing Clemson, but for a long period of time, Georgia never played anybody outside the SEC except for Georgia Tech, which was built in. They go up to South Bend and win that game, and now they are number 1 in the college football playoff because of it in those rankings, because they had the gumption to go up there and the courage to play a tough game. I'm so tired of hearing people say, oh, you can't play a tough game outside your conference because what if you lose? Well, I mean, compete. Go up there and win the game. And now, because they won it, they're in prime position now to play for a national title.
Well, I think LSU has tried to do that. I think they tried to do that this year. BYU is just terrible. But they played Wisconsin. They played. Look, they played
I'm
those.
I'm not criticizing LSU.
Right. I'm just saying
that thought process.
Right. Okay.
That thought process.
Although, how much of that, that Georgia Notre Dame game is, high risk, high reward. You see what I'm saying? Like, of course, like it was clearly Kirby Smart taking a chance, saying, look, maybe if we can get Notre Dame on the schedule, if we play well, but like. At best, you win, and you hope that it ends up being a great win for you later, which it clearly has. Or at worst, maybe you lose close, or maybe the season's not so much heaven, but it doesn't matter.
That's not a bad loss.
It's not a detriment to you.
And what was Georgia's expectations? I don't honestly know. Did people think they would be a national championship contender this year? I'd probably say no. Maybe top 15 team.
Yes.
At that point, they were just hoping they could probably beat Florida and probably be one. Hopefully
get into the SEC
for the SEC
title
championship game.
Well, be borderline top 10 probably.
If you remember, their star freshman quarterback got hurt.
Jacob Eason.
In the first game. Was it the first game of the year, right?
Mm-hmm. And Fromm has come in and been even better.
Right. So, I mean, give them credit. They've done a really good job there, and they still got a lot in front of them because they got to play at Auburn this weekend.
Look, they got tons of big games, and it's a weekend I wish I wasn't flying to Buffalo because I'd want to sit. At least I get to Buffalo 4 Eastern.
Oh, perfect.
I will park myself somewhere in Buffalo and watch hours and hours of football.
And
because
get you some wings. Find you some wings. Come on.
Well, when you're in Buffalo, you eat seafood, right?
What's the name of that place? There's that famous place.
It's called Buffalo Wild Wings.
No, it's not.
Wow. What about Hooters?
Wow.
What about Wow Wingery?
We better be careful here. We're treading lightly here. No, I'm just saying there's a famous place up there. When Jim Haslett was the Saints coach, he told us when he played in Buffalo, he played most of his career up there.
Right.
There was some famous place that supposedly invented the wings.
Oh, yeah, that diner or whatnot.
Right. It's kind of a dive place, and we went there, and they had photos up of Haslett when he played. He had this bad perm. I mean, it was bad. And he played. I'm trying to. Fred
Is a perm good?
You're right. It's never good.
Sorry,
the Anchor
ladies.
Bar. I'm pretty sure it's the Anchor Bar.
Sorry.
Yes, that was it. And we went up there, and I think he played with Fred Smerlis, who was a great nose tackle and kind of a hellraiser as well. And those guys those were back in the days when they get into bar brawls outside of football, and nobody would say anything about it. They were kind of two crazy hellions back then. In Buffalo. I've digressed here.
That's okay. We're going to digress even more because we're going to take a break, and it's Clyde's time to shine and my time to be depressed. And thank God I don't bet actual dollars on my college picks. My kids would not be going to school. My wife would not have a car, and we would be living in a box.
So you're telling me you would be the typical degenerate? Like you wouldn't even be like a moderate degenerate. You would go full into like being if the alternate universe Larry would be full on degenerate gambler with no money.
Well, real life Larry makes terrible picks, so if I actually put real dollars on them, we'd be in a heap of trouble. So that's just the way it is. Thank God it's just entertainment purposes only here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. We're Duncan Holder.
Your forecast on Sports 1280.
We got an email from, maybe I've met her before.
Is brought to you by the Exogen Temporal Scanner Thermometer.
Ashley
From the Fox 8 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Bruce Katz. Finally, the feel of fall is in the air. Temperatures chilly, only in the mid-60s today. We are going to see sunshine by late afternoon. Now tonight, it's going to be chilly as well. Overnight low,
last week of
45
November,
north,
first week of
54
December,
south, and tomorrow for your Friday, a beautiful day to wrap up the work week. Mostly sunny with a high of 69. And again, overnight lows back to the upper 40s north.
Yeah, don't they have WrestleMania coming on?
From the Fox 8
that's just said WrestleMania.
That's
what I just said.
Supporting the accuracy of the Exogen Temporal Scanner.
I wasn't paying attention. Of course, I was focusing on my looking up Ashley Doubleday to see if she was cute.
YouTube, Jeff is stalking, just like I am on my photo. I'm stalking.
I love that meme of you. GIF or whatever.
Trip. I knew when I was pinned against the wall, like leaning over. I saw Tripp's camera. I was like, this is gonna be a weird looking shot. Of course, he sent it to me, and I'm like,
and the busyness of life.
Smashed.
It was like, I was really. It was the expression on your face that made it so funny. You were like,
as you chase your
we've all been there too. We've all like trying to work your way in, trying to get an angle.
One where a buddy of mine caught me.
It's a good reminder for me
on Sports Center, like leaning into Reggie Bush,
by the
and I'm
US
like,
Air Force.
Are you taking
the best of the
Viagra
ones where
for
Catherine's in there, like chewing
now
on a
you
pen
can
and
get
just looking
sildenafil,
like
the active
uninterested.
ingredient in Viagra in generic 20 milligrams for $2.
What she loved when we point them out. There's Catherine with the pen in her mouth.
Marley Drug is a North Carolina pharmacy delivering generic sildenafil to your door. For information
of course,
on
she sent me a
sildenafil,
video
go
of
to
Junior Gillette getting
marleygenerics.com
tased.
Or call us at 800-853-6375. That number again, 800-853-6375.
Send it to me at like 7:15 in the morning. I'm like, all right.
By increasing cure rates in childhood cancer, and donors are important to us.
I think we should get him on the show next week.
The feeling that you have a team behind.
Play Washington. Get Junior on. We'll have a good old times.
I'll see if I can call him up.
Posting your job opening to an
Mary, why do you
job
still hate me?
site is like drinking from a fire
Junior
hose.
Gillette.
You get more resumes
best,
than you know
I'm
what to
telling
do
you.
with.
Glorious
Robert
that
Half
he
is the
texted
better way
me
to
to
hire.
tell me that
Our
the Saints
candidates
cut
are
him.
interviewed and custom matched to
Really?
your exact hiring
Me and
requirements.
Brett
Quickly, satisfaction,
Martell, of course,
guaranteed.
Friday
So
afternoon,
what you
Brett
need
Superior.
is just what
And
you'll
so
get.
he texted
Robert
me, he's
Half,
like,
the expert
Saints
in
just
accounting,
released me,
finance,
Larry. You got
IT,
your
legal,
wish.
marketing,
He did.
and
Yes.
administrative staffing.
That's how I
Learn
got to
more at
really think of that.
roberthalf.com/radio.
Because I was the one on the...
Repetitious behavior.
I know, but like, why would he think I'm gonna text somebody? You know, like,
Why would I text a guy who's been
Learn the signs
ripping him for 9 months?
Right. Brought to you
I
by
was the
Autism
only
Speaks
one.
and the Ad
Like,
Council.
people were like following my lead blindly when I said, "Oh, he might get cut." People would just.
There's no one else is gonna step out there.
Well, people would just no. They would like, oh, like they started once I started saying it. They started saying it, but they had no idea why. Like they had no clue. They were just like,
right,
maybe he might get cut, but no one asked why. Why would I be saying?
It's always that way. I mean, it's
Follow
amazing.
the sheep.
It's amazing how you can set the agenda.
Learn what our insiders know about your home teams. Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back, Duncan Holder. If you missed any of the show, sports1280.com, NOLA.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube page. And this is Cocky Clyde's time to shine. College Pick'em segment, and I'm afraid. Actually, I'm not afraid. I know I stink, so why am I afraid? It doesn't. It just.
Yeah,
no.
it doesn't.
At this
help
point,
the
it's just no. There's no point in me worrying. And I don't do like the picks just randomly. Well, yes, I do the picks randomly. I put no thought into them. But I don't pick oddball just to pick oddball. It's what I think at that moment in time, which is why. Step away. I'm glad I just receive odds and I don't use them, and that's why if I ever go to say the fairgrounds with Jeff Duncan, I'm just going to hand him my money and say you make the picks because I'll just pick them on like name alone, and of course that's the best way to do it, right, Jeff? Just
well, I feel like in horse racing there's a little strategy involved. You know,
I know how to like look at the sheet. Like I can say, all right, this horse finished third. The last time it ran, but I don't know which. I don't know.
It's complicated.
Yeah, let's talk. Let's talk about that. Mister, I don't put any kind of science or scientific thoughts about picks.
Thanks, Clyde.
You do that, and then you think on the random off week, like you'd hit one of those weeks, man. Like that's like the gambler mentality is like one of these weeks, man. I'm gonna hit like people who play the lottery. You went 2-8 last week.
Come on, 2-8.
Whoa.
Well, I didn't go 1-12 in NFL picks.
Whoa,
so
2-8. That's not a whole lot better.
I mean, it was so. I mean, just.
We don't need to rehash it. I don't even remember the games. I don't even remember the picks.
There were a lot of games. There were a lot of bad picks by you.
Obviously, a lot of bad. I just remember the LSU pick I got wrong and the Tulane pick.
Well, I mean, we both got. Technically, you both got the Alabama LSU game wrong, and we all got the Tulane game wrong because we were all homers. But it was okay. We did it in good faith. It's going to be interesting to see how we choose this week because this week is a doozy. Let's go into the overall records. Your fearless leader, leading as always with a record of 50-40. Jeff Duncan is close behind. And when I say close, about a country mile. He's 42-48, and then good old Sir Lawrence, 37-53.
Whoa, gosh!
I can't even pretend not to laugh at that.
That's so bad. That's so bad.
Oh, that's so great. All right, guys. All right, gentlemen. Let's start with our first game, which our first game is actually, I believe, tonight. Washington, ranked Washington team that's kind of looking there in the college football playoff. 6-point favorite against Stanford at Stanford. So, gentlemen, start us off.
I like Stanford getting the points at home. Getting 6, is that what you said?
Yes.
Yeah, I like Stanford, the Cardinals.
So that game is tomorrow, Friday night.
Okay.
Who are they playing again?
Washington is on the road at Stanford.
I'm going to go Stanford, too. I know people are talking about Washington being in the college football playoff chatter. And look, I just think that they could lose this game straight up, and then they Pac-12, you're out of here. No one's talking about you at all anymore. And they got too many good teams elsewhere. So Stanford.
I actually completely 100% agree with you. I don't know if
That's a bad move.
I don't know if I would say it's a bad move, because if you looked at Stanford's last few games, they've kept it close, but they haven't been able to pull them out. Obviously, they were ranked about 2-3 weeks ago before they eventually fell out. I mean, they're still 6-3 on the year, so it's still be a close game. Next game coming to the SEC. Not one of the marquee games, and I kind of wanted to pick this one and the next one that we have coming up after this, just because I'm interested to see your takes. Tennessee is on the road, going to Como North, going to take on the Missouri Tigers. Missouri is an 11-point favorite over Tennessee at Faurot Field.
Oh, boy. That means basically they're saying Tennessee's going to quit and they're not going to show
Early.
up. Early. Oh, my gosh. Oh, boy. I'm going to take Missouri. See the trap fall right into the trap. I fell into the trap. Missouri.
I'm going
just like
Missouri
one of those
too.
cartoons.
Missouri, look at their last. They beat Florida 45-16.
They did. That was in Gainesville.
They beat UConn 52-12, and then Idaho before that 68-21. They've been trucking people.
See, I knew that. That's why I
clearly
pick.
Clearly you knew that. Man, I really don't want to make it 3 for 3, but I really like where you guys are at this week. You guys are bringing it.
How am I going to catch up?
Well, I mean, I think if you're worried about catching up at this point, and it's week 11, I think we're past that horse. Okay, so sorry. Right now, it's like a 2-horse race between me and Clyde. Just saying.
Clyde.
I'm also going with Missouri. The fact that they've been able to turn around this season has been remarkable under Barry Odom, because, I mean, he looked dead in the water when the season started, but clearly they've been able to turn around. And this was the Missouri team that I think a lot of people wanted to see last year, or thought they were going to see last year against LSU, that was going to put up all these points and didn't. But really, that team has found a way to get in. So our next game, going to Stark Vegas, Alabama against Mississippi State. Alabama is only a 14-point favorite against the Bulldogs.
Starkville, obviously, if they stop Nick Fitzgerald, they stop Mississippi State. And Alabama's coming off a tough game. Jeff, I'm going to let you make that pick.
Nice. Nice.
Last in the buck, Larry.
That's like we're going down on the fast break, and he's got the ball, and he sets me up right into Minute Bowl or something.
Literally.
I'm taking
Finger wag.
I'm taking Mississippi State and the points. I think they're going to keep that game close.
I'm going Alabama. I think Alabama's like, we played LSU close. Now we're going to turn it on. Alabama.
I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe I'm doing this.
Get on the Larry train.
Oh, man, I can't believe I'm doing this.
Let your record pummel.
I don't think State will keep this within 2 touchdowns. Even if Nick Fitzgerald has a good game, I don't see any way that Mississippi State keeps this within 2 touchdowns. So I'm going with Alabama. All right, guys. We're just going to roll into these because these are just huge, huge games. TCU going to Oklahoma. Oklahoma is a 6.5-point favorite against the Horned Frogs.
Should I pass the buck to you, Jeff?
Yeah, here we go again. Another lateral.
I'll go Oklahoma. I think they
literally number 5 and number 6 in the college football playoff against each other.
Well, this is obviously a college football playoff eliminator. You know, you lose, you're gone. And I think Baker Mayfield. Everyone's talking about Josh Rosen and Sam Darnold and Josh Allen in Wyoming. I think Baker Mayfield can come in the NFL and be a stud. I think people are sleeping on him. So
do you think is he back in the Heisman talk? Because a lot of people put him back in heavily and made him the clear favorite after last week.
Well, I think he's I think he's in the talk. But look, it's always what JT Barrett was the front runner, and then a week later,
and then what happened?
He was nowhere in. Then he was all the way in. Then he's nowhere in again. It's so crazy. Long story short, Oklahoma.
I like it.
What about Iowa State? It has delivered the one loss for each of those teams.
Yes.
Beat TCU.
We're going to pick that game
Oklahoma.
too next. Yeah, we're going to pick that game.
So, look, I'm going to go with TCU. They're kind of salty on the road. I like them. I'm going to play the underdog card. I think Oklahoma is going to have a little bit of a letdown after Bedlam.
I agree. I think TCU is going to come in and keep it close. It really is, in my mind, a pick-em game between which team is going to play better late. But I think TCU will keep it close to the most. All right, guys. Next game, another big one. Notre Dame going to Miami. Resurgent Miami. The U is back. Turnover chain. Shout out to the turnover chain.
I don't know what that means. I don't know.
The turnover chain that they wear.
If you get a turnover in a game, they give you this huge dookie rope kind of thing.
Yeah, and like there's a big and then there's a big Miami U on it. So if you get a turnover, you get that chain. And obviously, it's a huge deal for them. They play for it. It's awesome. But obviously, against Notre Dame, Miami is laying 3 points. Notre Dame is favored by 3 points.
I'm laying them. I like Miami. Recognize the trap, identify the trap, use the trap to your advantage.
I think Miami's not really as good as everybody says. I'm going Notre Dame. Sorry, Mark Richt. I've seen you choke too many big games. You're going to choke this one.
Wow. You're bringing back in SEC Mark Richt. Clearly, he's done something to re-energize the Miami fan base. College Game Day is going there for the first time, if I believe correctly. They're going down there.
The hook.
I'm going with Miami with this one as well. I think Miami might be. This might be Mark Richt's.
In Sean Payne's words.
You writing it down over there, Clyde?
Yes, I'm writing it down.
Okay.
All right, guys. Next game. We talked about Iowa. We're talking about a hot Iowa team going on the road to Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a 12-point favorite. Wisconsin literally is probably just hoping that they can hold on enough to get to that Big Ten title game and somehow sneak into the college football playoff.
Oh, Badgers, lay the lumber with the Badgers. Well, Iowa's had that huge win against Ohio State. They're going to be full of themselves, and now they're going into one of the most difficult places to play in the Big Ten.
Let's see. Do I like Mike Triplett or do I hate Mike Triplett?
He was actually talking about this with somebody on the elevator.
He's an Iowa alum.
So
Mike Triplett, of course, our former colleague and works for ESPN. I've won a bet going against Iowa with Mike Triplett before, so I'm going to go against Iowa. So Wisconsin, let's do it.
I completely agree. If this game was in Iowa, I would probably still. I expect Wisconsin to win, but I would have Iowa to keep it close. I'm going Wisconsin. Jump around. Shout out to House of Pain and Everlast. All right, guys. Next game, which I
Everlast.
Yeah, what it's like. Also, former member of House of Pain.
Yes, Everlast. That's a great song.
Yeah.
What?
Do you know who Everlast is?
No, they're batteries.
I know what it's like.
Oh, that song stinks.
It's a good song.
House of Pain's cool. That song stinks.
That's a good song.
No.
It's a good song. It's a great song. One of the best songs of the 90s.
It's
all right,
no
guys.
Hanson.
Gentlemen, Oklahoma State, 6.5-point favorite against the Iowa State Cyclones in Ames, Jack Trice Stadium. Iowa State also one of the hotter teams in the Big 12. And as Mr. Jeff said, the only team to give both TCU and Oklahoma losses. So,
what's the line? You didn't get.
Oh, I did 6.5. Oklahoma State.
6.5 Oklahoma State. I'm going Iowa State. Come on, let's keep the party going up in Iowa State land. Yeah. No, I'm not going to say they're going to win, but they might win. So
it seems like a trap to me. I'll take Oklahoma State.
I mean, I jump face first into the trap. So
yeah, I'm laying the points. It seems out of whack.
Okay, so let me get. So Jeff, you're going with Oklahoma State.
Laying.
You're going with Iowa State.
Iowa State.
Okay, I don't like this pick because I think this game is going to be way, way, way more entertaining than what people are probably giving it credit for. But I'm going to also go with Oklahoma State on this one.
Y'all are dopes.
Yeah, we're not dopes. That's not nice. All right, guys, going back to Big Ten country. Ohio State, talk of the town, then immediately falling from the graces of most national pundits. However, they're hosting Michigan State this weekend, and they are Ohio State 16-point favorites in the Big House.
Oh boy. Michigan State.
I'll take Michigan State as well.
Let's do it. Let's get crazy.
Let's get crazy. Just like Prince. I'm going to go. That point total is too high. Michigan State's either going to win this game outright or they're going to keep it close. All right, guys. The Deep South's oldest rivalry. Also a game that could help either side in both of their SEC East and SEC West chances. Georgia on the road at Auburn, going to the loveliest little village on the plains. Georgia is a 2.5-point favorite.
You know what? Upset. Auburn. Ooh. They're going to win. Straight up.
Straight up? I can see that happening.
Upset.
You know what? I'm with Larry on that. I think Auburn wins that game. Throws the SEC into chaos.
As if the SEC
really
not really chaos, but it definitely makes it more interesting, and it helps Auburn's case that regardless of what happens against Alabama at the end of the year, they could still be in contention for a New Year's Six Bowl.
Well, what if Auburn beats Alabama and Georgia?
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
No, let's consider that factor. They'd be in the mix.
They would be in the mix. They're what, number 10 right now?
Right.
So
and their 2 losses would be at LSU and at Clemson.
Yeah.
You got to. They would be in the
both of them close games.
Right.
Both of them on the road.
They would be in the mix, but yeah.
Well, all right, guys. Well, last 2 games.
Who do you have?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Did you write it down?
Yeah, I did write it down.
And now that he's winning,
yes,
he just morphs his pick.
I do.
Whatever works.
Yeah, kind of like you with not giving me your picks a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, see how it works.
See how that works.
So you went 0-10, and you still
no, he didn't.
Record.
I made it fair. I gave him. I went by averages, so I just made him. I gave him like 3. I made him go 3-7.
What?
Yeah.
I know why.
I made it fair. He went 3-7.
Now I know
guys,
why this thing is slanted. My goodness.
Tulane on the road at East Carolina. Tulane is actually a favorite of this game by 5 points.
Well, I've been burned so many times by Tulane lately. I'm not going with Tulane.
So, wow, blasphemy.
Sorry. They burned me so many times. I'm trusting them.
I love the green wave in that one. I think they're going to truck East Carolina.
I agree, Jim.
I love them up against Cincinnati, and even if they would have won, they wouldn't have covered.
They wouldn't have covered, but I mean, it still would have at least won.
This is how bad.
Can't do it.
This is how bad Brigham Young is. East Carolina lost to South Florida 61-31, lost to Temple 34-10, lost to Central Florida 63-21. Then they beat Brigham Young 33-17. Then they come back next week and get beat 52-27. So they've only won 1 game in their last 5, and it was crushing Brigham Young. That tells you how bad Brigham Young.
Can I change my Tulane pick?
No, too late. It's already written down.
It's already written down.
And I think, if anything, we should probably maybe go to a break and then talk about our last game and the spread.
He's calling for breaks now.
Who is this guy? Angie. We're going to let him do it, though. But, anytime you want to, come cut the cord off a cocky Clyde's mic, we'll be all right. You're getting good at this. Oh, boy.
Here we go. Carried away.
It's going to be the Clyde hour. We're going to be bumped off our set. So, all right, we'll talk LSU, Arkansas. Final pick coming up next here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. And Clyde even calls the music. And Angie, remember who showed us this? Come on now. We're Duncan Holder. Yeah, that song is soft.
I love that song.
That's so lame.
It's great.
Whatever.
It's got a good message in it, Larry.
It does have a good message in it. And you really might know what it's like to say.
Never had to walk a mile in his shoes.
Adding up. Well, Dave told me today wasn't a themed day, so I didn't know what to play.
That's fine. No, but your music choices have been fantastic.
But you're appeasing Clyde.
When you played No Scrubs, by TLC, I was like, no, you can sit in any and all days. Please, thank you.
Okay, I got one more. Can I get Hanson then?
No Hanson. No Hanson. No.
Come back. A little
take a request.
Angie, let's do it.
I swear to
Send
God,
us out
Larry.
a blaze of Hanson.
Or Ted DiBiase's walk down music.
I don't even know what that is.
Money. You'd be better off playing For the Love of Money by the OJs.
Everybody's got a price.
It's like drinking from a fire hose.
Then you really might know what it's like.
Everybody's gonna pay.
Choose
Robert Half is the
Because the $1 Million Man
All candidates are
always gets his
custom matched
way.
to your exact hiring requirements.
Unbelievable.
That's it.
Guaranteed. So what you need is just what you'll get. Robert Half. The experts in accounting, finance, IT, legal, marketing, and administrative
Jarrett Bell
staffing.
and
Learn more at roberthalf.com/radio.
God, Dan Pompey were out there yesterday.
The Scott Eli Jackson Foundation's Purple Purpose Gala honors those who have fallen victim to pancreatic cancer
Sam
and
Farmer
shows
told me he's
support for
coming
those fighting the disease
He's coming here
today.
before
This year's
we go out
gala
there.
is
I think he's
Sunday,
coming next
November
week.
19th at City Park's Parkview Terrace, with all proceeds benefiting the Scott
Probably
Eli
lose.
Jackson Foundation
Lose to Buffalo.
and its mission. It'll be a night of great entertainment and fabulous
your
local
pick yet?
cuisine.
Yeah,
Find
I
out
picked the
more.
Saints.
Go to the SEJF.
I can see him losing those. It's like one of those games.
I'm gonna wrestle with the pick. Gonna make
When
it.
Marlon Shirley was 5, he lost his foot. Today, as the world's fastest amputee, he runs the 100 meters in less time than it takes to listen to this. Overcoming. Pass it on. From a foundation for
All right, so let's get out at 58:50, and Angie,
After
just
major
count me down.
hurricanes, you would expect a
so I
surge in
don't
demand
screw
for
it up.
construction workers, but it hasn't happened, at least not yet on a nationwide level. The big picture in the Labor Department's newest job openings report shows the number of openings for construction jobs in September was pretty close to the average over the last 12 months. However, the report does not address possible local shortages and the California wildfires that destroyed thousands of homes happened in October, which could have created a lot more openings. We just won't know until the data comes out next month. But contractors have long complained they can't find enough qualified workers to fill the existing openings. It can take a while to get a new iPhone 10 because of supply chain problems, but as Mark Mayfield reported,
you better get another angry email, dude.
Ironed out at least some of those.
The company says it's ready to meet the off-the-chart demand for the new iPhone 10 on November 23rd and 24th. Apple will launch its new iPhone in 14 countries, starting in Israel. Worries that Apple was going to suffer serious supply matters are apparently not an issue.
But it wasn't.
Orders placed in the U.S. won't ship from Apple for several weeks, but production gives it plenty of phones to ship to new markets. Mark Mayfield, NBC News Radio.
Mortgage rates are down slightly, but not enough to spark the mortgage market. The mortgage bank has averaged for a 30-year fixed
Wayward Owl gets
4 basis points in the last week, 1%, but applications are essentially flat. Time for holiday party planning, but budget-stretched employers take heart. Staffing agency Accountemp says company parties don't have to be extravagant.
What ends up becoming the most popular and most fun is more about the spirit and the camaraderie and sort of the atmosphere, not necessarily how much money is spent.
Accountemp's executive director Mike Steinitz advises employees to show up for the party, even if you don't want to, because it shows how you interact outside the cubicle.
The ones they sell is
the booze and
Storyville IPA, the Slackwater.
Top 5 cities for company parties are New York, Miami, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C. The worst company parties are in Minneapolis, Des Moines, Philadelphia, Indianapolis, and Cleveland. Consumer and Business News, Joe McConnell,
Radical
NBC
Rye
News Radio.
IPA, Gnarly Barley, just Hammond. Yeah, it's good.
So get out your seat and jump around. Jump around. Dunc and Holder now. Josh Innes next at noon on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
I mean, this has got to be the Clyde show.
I'm the cream of the crop. I rise to the top.
I don't even know if Angie's ever met Clyde, but man.
We met Angie when we were still doing the show back a few months ago.
And
we met
she
her then.
still gives you your music requests. What's up with that?
Because she knows I'm awesome. Because she's awesome. Yeah.
Well, this is a good song.
Yeah, it is a good song, too.
I know, but it's Clyde, and it's...
All right, gentlemen. So, to wrap up...
Just running the show today.
To wrap up today's show, lovely.
We got about 2.5 minutes. So
Arkansas, LSU. Arkansas, from what I can tell, they still have not chosen the starting quarterback for this game. LSU is a 16.5-point favorite. Go.
16.5-point favorite. I just feel like I don't ever trust LSU to blow anyone out, and that, to me, would be a blowout in LSU's eyes, but... I think Arkansas is in the tank. They know Bielema's gone. I mean, they can't even beat Coastal Carolina at home. I'm going to pick LSU, and I'm going to pick them to win, let's say 38-10. They're going to crush Arkansas.
I love how he's calling the score.
Yeah, no one asked for that, but we appreciate it.
I'll do what I want. My name is still on the show.
That's true for now.
You know what? I'm kind of with Larry on that. I think LSU's going to truck them. Give me LSU minus 16.5.
Yeah, guys, 3 for 3. Can't even. There's no way to sugarcoat it. This team is going to come out with an intensity, with a fire, with an anger. Specifically, I can imagine.
What's going on?
Yeah, right.
Fire,
some anger, brimstone. But no, obviously they're going to come out. They're going to want us in a very clear message that.
Are you saying the other team doesn't have fire and brimstone? Like Arkansas players don't care?
It's fire and brimstone.
Yeah, fire and brimstone as in like they are in the fire.
Their place is on fire, right?
Yes, and there's not enough water to put it out. But LSU clearly, and Jeff, Larry, it's like me and you talked about when, Jeff was not here like usual.
Like usual. What?
Like usual. I will take this talent. I will take LSU's core talent against any of these three teams, and I mean by a large, large margin. I think LSU will come out. They're going to set the tone early. Arkansas is going to be put on their heels. They won't know how to recover. I think LSU will win this game big, cover, go into the last 3 weeks of the season just rolling.
All right. Well, that's cocky Clyde. I mean, he just took over the show today.
Yeah.
I'm sure I like
outside of Clyde. Making like big loud noises in the middle of the interviews. I mean, banging cups and stuff.
It was an accident.
Bull in a china shop.
Exactly. But want to thank Vic Carucci of Buffalo News and Sirius XM NFL Radio. Want to thank Josh Katzenstein. Cocky Clyde, we do like you.
I know, I like you guys too.
Nickelbackenstein.
Old Nickelbackenstein.
Unbelievable.
So if you want to check out anything you missed, sports1280.com, NOLA.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube page. Angie, thanks for putting up with us today. Appreciate it as always. And again, don't let Corey give you a hard time. You know, you cut his mic off whenever you want, Angie. That way. Yeah, so I'm giving you permission. It's all good. So, again, big show tomorrow. We got Lorenzo Reyes from USA Today. Of course, we'll have Jim Derry to break down all the prep high school action first weekend of the playoffs.
Jimmy Smith will be on.
And Jimmy Smith, our recruiting guru. So, locked and loaded Friday show. And lots of Saints sound. You hear from Drew Brees. You'll hear from Sheldon Rankins. Cam Jordan. You'll hear from all of them tomorrow. So, come on back on a Friday show. Sports1280NOLA.com and the iHeartRadio app. Duncan Holder.
My son Aiden.
Thanks, Angie. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Angie.
Secondhand smoke.